On the live Lantom. Oh, let me get me other little screen up. Window project. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Okay, live numbers slowly creeping up.
How are you sure she's not guilty?
Oh wow.
To hear your reasoning.
How is that even happening? Wow, I didn't even know I could do text to speech. I don't know how that happened. But now I guess we got text to speech. That's pretty cool. How are you sure she's not guilty? We'd love to hear your reasoning. Okay, cool. Cool. I guess we got text to speech. Bro, I don't know how that happened. I did not set that up. I'm like, this is wild. This is wild. This is what. Wait, but doesn't that mean if someone says something dodgy, then no, it's got a filter on it, right? Text to speech. Okay, guys, we have text to speech. I don't know. Like, are we watching on Facebook? Are people on Facebook watching? This live is going to be the best quality one because we've got the Bluetooth speakers and then we've also got the pop filter. Because like, I was listening back to the audio on some of them and I was like, yeah, the audio sucks. But yeah, I'll give my perspective soon. I have a lot of information on this topic, probably more than most people. So, you know, when we get a few more people joining the live, guys, tap the screen to like the live and share the live, and we'll get started once we've got a certain number of people. And we're also taking debaters as well. So thanks for liking. Joe says, who is she? So that's Lucy Letby. She was convicted of...
She absolutely is guilty.
Of 15 M's. She's not. But I mean, if you mean guilty in the sense that she was convicted, yeah, she was convicted. But so with the Central Park 5, it's called a miscarriage of justice. I noticed that it seems to be... when I do this live, a lot of the people that say she's guilty seems to be women, and then when I ask them, they're like, I can feel the vibe, like she gives me creepy vibes. I'm like, okay, like, should we look at the evidence, or like, you know what I mean, like, because her case has just been submitted, I think in February, to the Criminal Cases Review Commission or whatever it's called. We've got 53 people in the live, so let's get into the topic. We can debate.
So convinces she's innocent then? Because all signs led to guilty.
What signs did you see?
Wait.
Do you want to debate it?
No way.
Do you want to debate it? Like, we can debate it.
Convicted of?
She was convicted of multiple
What
M's.
makes me think she's not guilty is her childhood.
What about her childhood? I didn't hear nothing about her childhood. Like, wait, if we're gonna do text to speech, guys, okay, they put it on default.
Says guilty.
What evidence? Let's hear the evidence. Someone debate me. I want the smoke.
What did she do?
I want the smoke today. Oh, actually, I don't want to get censored or whatever. I don't know what happened with TikTok on that.
What even happened?
She was seen. Seen doing what?
She was seen.
Seen doing what? And by whom?
Guilty. They needed a scapegoat.
Exactly. I'm glad someone gets it.
Okay. Has she been acquitted?
I believe she will be acquitted.
What about that note she wrote?
Yeah.
Isn't she the one who killed the babies?
I don't know if we want to...
Evidence is circumstantial, and therefore they can't prove beyond reasonable doubt that she did.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to pause the text to speech maybe because I don't... Okay, I'll leave it on, but I don't want anyone saying nothing dodgy.
Parents.
How am I disrespecting the parents by saying that you know that I know someone that knows the parents as well, right? So, like... Okay, maybe the text speech is too much. Let's see what we can do to settings. Let's see what we can do for settings. Hold on.
How did the babies die?
Random voice. Hold on. Uh-oh.
So you deny that she was involved?
Followers only. Text to speech on followers only.
Has she been
There we go.
convicted?
Yeah, she was convicted. Sorry, guys. I'm just...
I saw a good Channel 5 doc about how the hospital had really bad maintenance issues.
I don't think it was the maintenance issues that caused the password. Okay,
And plumbing.
right. This text to speech thing is kind of wild. Is it still doing it? Okay, I think it's only going to let followers do text to speech now. So if you follow me, then you get access to text to speech. Follow me, and then you can do text to speech. I think that was just a delayed reaction.
With a 27, we ain't macking it past 21.
Go on,
okay.
present your argument.
Yeah, that didn't work. Hold on. Comment starting with...
What was the evidence for her conviction?
Not saying she did it or not, but there is not enough evidence to prove complete guilt.
Exactly, and
Wait, what?
sorry guys, I'm just gonna have to fiddle
Are
around
you
with this.
inviting people to discuss with
Yeah,
you?
we're inviting people to discuss. I'm trying to figure out what's up with this text-to-speech thing. Hold on. So it's enabled. I guess it should be followers only. I don't know if it's gonna like. Are we followers only doing text-to-speech? Okay, imagine defending her. You've given literally no argument, Alana. So why do people do this? Like, I'm mad about something. What are you mad about? I don't know. Why are you mad?
I
The
had
TV told me to be
text-to-speech.
mad.
What makes you sure she's innocent?
Because I've actually looked at the evidence and I know what the NHS does. They frame people. They cover up negligence.
And Moni, he has his own current case, not just using this for publicity.
Exactly. They tried to frame
She
me.
was thrown under the bus.
Yeah. Right, let's just see what's going on with
Hear
this.
this evidence.
Yeah, we can debate it. Guys, if you want to talk about this, please request to join the live because I
Is there
can't...
going to be a public inquiry?
There already is a public inquiry. It's called the Thirlwall Inquiry. If you look at the evidence from the Thirlwall Inquiry, you'll be able to see that a lot of people presented evidence that
Hospital
shows
has
that she's not
failings like they all do.
not guilty. Okay, right. We need to just somehow turn this off because... Thank you very much, Tickfinity, for like providing us with text-to-speech. But, you know, I want it to only be certain people. So, followers, subscribers, allowed users from list. And then let's say comments starting with... I mean, it should only be followers. I guess you guys are all followers. I don't know if you're followers of me that were doing the text-to-speech. I don't know. Let's think how we can restrict text-to-speech because we got 150 people in the live. I don't want it to just go on and on and on. Zoe says, I work for the NHS. I know what they do. Yeah, exactly. Should we do gifters? Allow top number of gifters. So if you send a gift, then you can do text-to-speech. That seems fair. Or if you're a subscriber or a moderator. Okay, this should work now. So if you want to do text-to-speech, send a gift. Lola says the NHS is messed up. She's still guilty though. I'd love to see if anyone's gonna debate me today.
And that's a part of what?
Yeah, I need debaters, not just followers. Sorry, subscribers, moderators. So if you want to do text-to-speech, send a gift, and then your voice will talk over my voice. Thank you for sharing the live, Alicia. We got 140 people still in the live now. Let's see who's watching on Facebook. Have we got any Facebook watchers? Yeah, we're cool on Facebook. Okay. So guys, just get comfy. We're gonna be on this just for a little while. If you want to debate, send a request. Please don't try to argue your point too tough in the comments. Is she guilty of medical negligence? Possibly. I think that there should be a civil trial for all the families to ascertain whether she is involved in medical negligence. But obviously that's a totally different thing from being guilty of M. We've got a requester. Okay, I'm going to put this requester up because I want to see if my Bluetooth speaker's working. So please don't say anything crazy. Hello. Hello, are you speaking right now? Can people hear him? Because I can't hear him. Oh, hold on. Say that again? Yeah, you're really quiet. I'm not really sure.
I can hear him.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that can't hear him. Damn, what's up with this? One sec, bro. Oh, I got you. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, now we're good. Okay. Yeah, what did you want to say?
So the only argument that I could, I do think she's guilty. What can you say about the notes that were left in her home about how she hated herself and that was put into the baby's bloodstream with the insulin? But really, I want to talk about the notes. What can you say about that? Okay,
let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
If a an M has not taken place and somebody writes that they are guilty of it, are they guilty?
No.
Okay. What is the evidence that an M has actually taken place?
So this is what I will say. If I say I'm about to rob a bank tonight, and I go and do that crime, then actually, yeah. If I put on a piece of paper that I'm about to rob a bank tonight, and I actually commit that crime, then guess what? That piece of paper is proven evidence that I just did it with the actual fact that I robbed the bank.
Okay, now what about this? What about if you didn't rob a
If
bank?
she premeditated it and babies end up unalive, why wouldn't we look at her like she's guilty?
She didn't premeditate it because there was no M's. Okay, so what about this? What about if you didn't rob a bank, money goes missing at your workplace, then all of the senior people in the bank conspire to say you did it. They start telling you, you're being investigated. We think that you've done something. They tell you to go to a therapist, and then you say to the therapist starts asking you saying, everyone thinks you did something wrong, and you say, yeah, I think I might have done something wrong, but you didn't rob the bank. But you're saying like, yeah, I think I might have done something wrong, and then the police can arrest you and say, yeah, you're responsible for the missing money, and you're like, well, hang on a minute, I didn't rob the bank. Are you saying that the money went missing because my paycheck was overpaid? Like, how did the money go missing? And they're like, oh yeah, did you receive extra money in your paycheck? You're like, yeah, I received extra money in my paycheck. I may have received extra money, but I didn't rob the bank. So what's going on? So that's more of a parallel in the sense that she never said that she committed an M. Do you understand? And there's no evidence of an actual M. Does that make sense? You can't be guilty of M if there's no evidence of an M. Now, this case was reviewed by the most senior neonatologist in the entire world, and the conclusion that they came to is that there was no M's and that the deaths were a result of medical negligence. So how can she have committed an M if the evidence actually shows that the deaths were a result of medical negligence? Now, the expert evidence that the prosecution relied on...
You keep saying no evidence, but yet she was found guilty. Make it make sense.
I'll get to that. So she was found guilty based on the expert evidence that came from the prosecution. Now, when you are a doctor and you give evidence in court, your evidence is considered to be expert testimony. So if there's a doctor that has a vested interest in you being guilty, or if there's a doctor that is being paid, or a doctor that's corrupt, or a doctor that is involved in a cover-up, when they give evidence, that evidence means more than you saying I'm not guilty. In other words, if I go up against a doctor and the doctor says you hit him on the head, cracked his skull open, and he passed away, and I say no, I didn't do it, the evidence leans towards the doctor being right. In other words, a doctor's opinion matters more. So when you have doctors conspiring against you in court, you're basically effed, because their evidence is considered to be expert testimony. So that's what's happened to Lucy, is that she doesn't have testimony in her defense, because how do you defend against something that didn't happen?
So you're saying either way it's a lose-lose situation?
Yeah, because how do you if somebody says you're working on the ward and they're like, the reason we think you're guilty is because you were there when the babies passed away, how do you prove that you didn't do it? You're like, I was there, but I didn't do it. And they're like, well, the babies passed away in your care. And it's like, well, you only selected the cases when I was there. They've cherry-picked the cases to only choose instances when she was present on the ward. So, of course she's present for all those cases, because the prosecution has cherry-picked those cases. And I know for definite that
she
this...
wrote, I am evil. I did this HOWWW. Are we arguing against her own words?
Because she did, first of all, she did what? Second of all, this is after years of them telling her, you've done something. You've done something. She doesn't say what she's done. You understand? She's saying, oh, I killed them because I'm not good enough to care for them or something. I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to care for them, right? So how do we know that if there's no actual evidence of an M, how is this not the musings of somebody who is overwhelmed, or how is it a safe admission if this is after years and years and years of them telling her she's done it? For example, the Central Park 5 actually confessed to an M. You understand?
Yeah.
But the Central Park 5 were coerced into the confession because the circumstances under which they were under trial in the first place were dubious. There was evidence that was being mismanaged and fabricated and stuff like that. That's what's happening in the Letby case. They're
I'll say
conspiring. You understand?
I'll say, well, not. I'm not. You're not wrong with that take. I will say this: the difference is with the Central Park Five, the police questioned them without a parent in the room. Legally,
Yeah.
you cannot do that.
That's what I'm saying. So obviously there was procedural errors that led to them appearing to be guilty when they weren't. That's the same thing that's happened in the Letby case. The procedural error is the cherry picking of evidence. That's a heuristic flaw in how they've conducted this case. They've cherry picked all the times that she was there, put them as their prosecution case, and then they've retrospectively said, oh, because she was there when this happened, that makes her guilty. You can't. That's a logical fallacy. You can't pick the only time she was there and then say, because she was there, that means she's guilty. You understand? In addition, I want to just play actually.
The only problem I have is the notes. That's the only, because why are the notes found in your home if you didn't commit the crime?
Can you read out her transcript?
Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly play.
Because I'm not, and I'll say this because it's not magically out of the discussion.
Yeah.
But no one, like, I'm assuming no one just snuck in her home and planted these notes.
No, they weren't. So the notes were from her having what's it called, like a session with a therapist, and the therapist told her, write down all of the thoughts that you're having around what's gone on, etc. Do you understand?
Oh, okay.
So let me just play this is 3 months ago, so I don't know if people have been following the case or what, but I don't know if people will be able to hear this. Hold on.
Trial and the verdicts. The questions about Lucy Letby, the nurse found guilty of murdering babies.
Okay, let's see where's the panel of experts.
It was the MP, Sir David experts. They put together.
Or injury were due to natural causes.
So this is the most senior expert in the entire world. Sorry, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear this well, but this is the most senior expert in the entire world regarding the Letby case.
Not finding motives.
Is their conclusion?
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we did not find any motives. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
During one of the long.
Okay, so that's just an excerpt of what he said, right? He said in all cases the deaths were due to medical negligence or poor care. There cannot be, it doesn't even, the thing is, it doesn't even matter if, now guys, take this with a grain of salt. It theoretically doesn't even matter if she did it, because from a legal standpoint, there cannot be a conviction if there is no M. First, they have to establish that.
I see what you're saying.
First, they have to establish that there was an M. Now, how can there be an M if the deaths were due to medical negligence? You understand?
No, I see what you're saying. You're saying, again, even if she did, at the end of the day, it was medical negligence.
Yes.
No matter what.
So she may be complicit in medical negligence, but she's not guilty of M, because for it to be an M, there needs to be an M that's committed, and an M is a premeditated intentional killing. You understand? If there's not a premeditated intentional killing, there's not an M. And if there's not an M, you can't be guilty of something that didn't happen. Do you understand? And a lot of the people who speak about this case, they don't know what's going on.
Seems like they've been sending letters back and forth.
They don't understand how the case has actually proceeded. Oh, the guy's gone off. I'm not sure what happened there. Someone said, so you're saying she's guilty of medical negligence? No, that remains to be seen. I think that there should be a civil case to establish if she is complicit in medical negligence. There's definitely been medical negligence if you review the actual evidence. What I'm saying is that there's no M. Now, there's a lot of inconsistencies. I'll get into it a bit further. There's a lot of other inconsistencies with this case. Some of the other primary evidence they relied on is the presence of insulin in the blood, an heightened amount of insulin in the blood of one of the babies. Now, this heightened amount of insulin, the way that...
No, this is not an...
Okay, you don't know what you're talking about, so don't get muted. Let me talk. So, the way that they've actually determined that there's a heightened amount of insulin in the blood of this particular child is they used a method that is not supposed to be used. It's not reliable in using to determine the level of insulin in a person's blood. Furthermore, the measurement would have meant that the insulin would have had to be administered in a way that it couldn't have been because of the apparatus, the transfusion that the child was on at the moment. So that insulin evidence is extremely dubious, right? In addition, if there's been an over-administration of insulin, where's the mens rea? Where's the evidence of intent, which is required for an M? And the UK establishment, the media, the mainstream media, the NHS, the establishment, so to speak, they don't want people to realize what's happened in this case. The reason that they don't want people to know what happens in this case, even though it's become a massive media storm, right, is that they do this all the time. They frame people all the time to cover up negligence. They scapegoat people. How do I know that they scapegoat people to cover up negligence? Because that's what they tried to do to me. Where's my soundboard, G? Where's my soundboard? Where is my soundboard? Because I can see that the crowd today, they're saying I'm tone deaf, and they are completely walking oblivious in society as to what's going on. Shout out to you, Tim. The people that are speaking about this stuff in the comments, are you speaking from a position of knowledge, or are you speculating? Are you speaking from a position where you've looked at the details of the case? You understand what the logical fallacy of cherry picking is and how it is relevant in a criminal case? Have you looked at the key evidence that suggests, a method or how the child actually passed away? Do you know that some of the main witnesses for the prosecution have changed their story multiple times? Do you know that there's a movement of nurses from that hospital and outside to try to acquit this individual? And in addition, a panel of the foremost experts in the entire world convened, did a press conference, which I've just played to you, and said there's no evidence of M. There cannot be a conviction for M if there's no evidence of M. And a lot of you guys, you're in for a rude awakening. The NHS is not what you guys think. The senior management, the IC, the integrated care boards, they're not what you people think. You guys think it's all hunky-dory. Oh my gosh, good old NHS can't do no wrong. These people, man, they've been given carte blanche in our society to do what they want, get away with what they want. You saw what they did during C-19. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to get banned. But we've given these people carte blanche to get away with what they want. Why is nobody? This is in the public eye. Everybody can see what's happening, and yet the cognitive dissonance in our society with respect to what these organizations are capable of, their propensity to frame people, and how the tentacles of their influence stretch into the police, the CPS, and all of these other organizations that have statutory powers, statutory duties in our societies. You guys don't know what's going on. That's the sad reality. I know what's going on because I'm going through it. My daughter's death is being covered up. I know what's going on. You guys don't know what's going on. So you're attacking me because you are coming from a position of ignorance. I'm coming from a position of knowledge. And that's the difference. Where's my Don DeMarco? Where's my Don DeMarco? Let me log in right now and just... Because these days, it feels like I'm the only... There's not many of us. You get what I'm saying? There's not many of us. Critical thinking minds. Critical thinking minds. Where are the critical thinking minds left in our society? We've been lulled to sleep, lulled to sleep, lulled to sleep, lulled to sleep. Where are the critical thinking minds in our society? Have you noticed, if you look through the comments, everyone, no, let me give my 2 cents, no. Where's the logic? Where's the points of contention to undermine what I'm actually saying? Are you listening, or are you just typing? Are you thinking? Are you thinking critically? Are you thinking critically? So we can take guest debaters, and to be quite honest with you guys, the people that know, they know. If you know, you know, so to speak, about what's going on in the NHS, what's going on with this particular case. Let me just quickly Don DeMarco myself, because, it's me against the world, baby. Sometimes.
Emotion is playing a big part in this for you?
What does my emotion have to do with the facts that I've just presented to you? Sacred Woman says, I think you're in deep pain and trauma and just projecting. So let's try and understand this. So I have had a child unalived through medical...
The same thing.
I'm going through the same thing. So I've had a child unalived through medical negligence. Why would I be defending a neonatal nurse if my own child was unalived by neonatal nurses? Wouldn't I be biased in the opposite direction? You understand? It stands more to reason that there must be something to upend my default disposition of being against neonatal nurses. So why are you not asking yourself, what does Amma know? What has Amma seen? What has Amma been through for him to have this understanding, or at least opinion? Let's say opinion, because I could be wrong, yeah? But what we can see through a perusal of the evidence is that this is an unsafe conviction. We cannot ever know what happened. It's between, God knows, right? But what we are seeing, what the critical thinking mind sees, is a miscarriage of justice, is an unsafe conviction. Sickle Mum says, how can race play a part? Well, I have noticed that race, unfortunately, has played a part in this case, because people have racial biases on both sides. You got people that are biased against people of this persuasion, and then you've got people that are biased against people of my persuasion. That's just a reality of life. Now, is it possible that because of her persuasion, it was easier for her to garner public support to suggest that perhaps, she's been framed? Yes. It's almost certain that her persuasion, being that of the majority of the population, plays a part in her being able to garner support with respect to her potential innocence, or let's just say lack of guilt. If I was in her position, would it be as easy for me to garner public support? Probably not. That's just the reality of demographics. But I don't think race plays a part when you're talking about the actual facts of the case. The actual facts of the case, and that's what I want to actually discuss. So again, let me just play this for you guys so that you can hear. Since you guys love experts so much, these are the foremost experts in the world. This is what they say.
Experts. They put together what they say is an impartial, evidence-based report on the case, and this is their conclusion.
This is their conclusion.
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we did not find any murders.
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we did not find any M's.
In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
Death or injury were due to natural causes or just poor medical care. Okay? Now, her case, thank you for the gift, her case has gone to the, what is it called? The Criminal Cases Review Commission. Let's get some of that up so that people can see what's going on with that. So, because this case, you guys are going to see, and I'm going to be vindicated when she wins on appeal. And will you guys then accept, if she wins an appeal, will you then say, oh, maybe she's not guilty, thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts. Will you guys then say she's not guilty if they, is it just what the media says that you believe? S says she was denied a retrial. Panel of her peers isn't enough to undo amounts of evidence. It's difficult. I recognize that, but there is processes under the legal system that we live under. In any criminal case, if there is if new evidence presents itself that suggests that someone can be innocent, the case can be reviewed at any time. So there's no in the UK or in common law jurisdictions, there's never an end to a case in a sense, because new evidence can always come up to suggest that to exonerate a person. You understand? Her case is actually going to the criminal. What is it called? The Criminal Cases Review Commission. So let's see what this actually says. So it says Lucy Letby application received by Criminal Cases Review Commission. So her appeals were denied, right? We know her appeals were denied. The Criminal Cases Review Commission has received an application on behalf of Lucy Letby, the former nurse convicted of 7 babies and attempting to 7 others. She's serving 15 whole life prison terms.
Jamie, you know how hard it take to overturn a conviction people age spent decades in prison wrongly.
Yes, and we know that wrongful convictions are a thing, guys. I don't know why people are pretending that there's no such thing as a wrongful conviction. So we're not saying that she wasn't found guilty. We're saying it was a wrongful conviction. Let's go on. So the CCRC investigates criminal cases where people believe they have been wrongly convicted or wrongly sentenced and can send cases back to the courts. Okay, so aside from a review, a case can get sent back to the courts by this commission. There's other mechanisms as well, which I won't get into, that a case can be reviewed. I think there's what's that thing that got Vibes Cartel free? It's like the most senior like court for like case reviews. Actually, I wanna.
At Jamie McNoe, she didn't go look at the evidence.
Hold on. I think it was, what is it? Privy Council. That's it. Privy Council. So there's many ways for a case to be reviewed and overturned. This is one of many mechanisms. You know, there's an appeal, etc., etc. Shan asked a good question. Is this your battle?
At Jamie McNoe, you haven't.
So, is this my battle? So, no, it's not my battle. And you might ask, why am I fighting this battle? Because I have done many lives about this topic. And it puts a person's reputation, their safety at risk, defending an individual like this. Why is it my battle? Well, do you know why? It's because we live in a common law jurisdiction. We live in England. If not for this activity, the principles that undermine our society are going to collapse. We are required as we are required as citizens to partake in the administration of justice through advocacy, through jury service, and our conscience, the juror's conscience, as a principle of law, is the most important thing in common law. We administer the law, the people, and we maintain the right, and we reserve the right to believe somebody is not guilty, even if they've been convicted. Okay, we maintain and reserve the right to advocate for appeals, etc. So, is this my battle? It's our battle, 1. 2, is this my personal battle? No. What connects me to this case? Aha, now we're asking the right questions. What connects me to this case? I was framed by the NHS. I had a child unalived on a neonatal ward. It was covered up. I watched, recorded, thought, I saw how they did it. I saw how they frame people. I saw how they cover up the death. I saw how they fabricate the evidence. I saw how they use expert witnesses. I saw it. I saw it step by step. It's my duty as a citizen of this common law jurisdiction to make the public aware of my disposition, because I have asymmetric information. I know something you don't know. I know something you don't know. And I can drop bombshell after bombshell, but I don't want to sabotage the cases that I'm involved in, right? But I can drop a little nugget for you. The same guy that did the expert testimony that's preventing my daughter from having an inquest is the same guy, the same expert witness, yeah, that's got Lucy convicted. So my case, unfortunately, is married, because the same expert witness that's preventing us from getting an inquest is the same expert witness. And this expert witness has this expert witness, what he's written is not correct. Let's just say that. What he's written on my daughter's post-mortem is not correct. What he's written as the evidence for Lucy Letby being guilty is not correct. He relied on evidence of something called air embolism to suggest that the features on the body of one of the deceased neonates, rest in peace, yeah, is consistent with somebody causing them an air embolism. Now, this air embolism thing, this is an extremely rare way of passing away. Now, this expert, whose evidence did he rely on? Whose evidence did he rely on when he said...
Gordon nurse to those babies never raised anything, but his did its wild.
Exactly. And this guy, yeah, his evidence that he's saying, this is how I know it's an air embolism, the evidence he's using comes from this guy, the world-renowned expert on air embolism, Dr. Sue. He's using Dr. Sue's evidence.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is Dr.
we
Sue.
did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
The guy, the expert witness, the guy whose evidence he's relying on, is saying, no, dude, there wasn't an air embolism. He wrote the paper that the expert witness is relying on. Why are you guys so ignorant? You just don't want another person to prove you wrong. Some of you guys.
Mixed up and sensitive needs to not deter this from coming out.
Like, how are you guys not listening to what I'm saying? The expert witness, who is tied to my daughter's case, cover up, which I witnessed with my own 2 eyes, I've got recordings, the same expert witness, he's relying on this guy's evidence. Okay, imagine this. Let me just slow it down, cool it down, right? Okay. Imagine, yeah, if you're an expert, whoever you are, sickle mum, you're an expert. Imagine you're an expert, yeah? You're an expert in, let's say you're an expert in your child. You love your baby. You know that your child, he's got a freckle on the back of his neck. He's got, you know everything about your baby. You know him, yeah? Or her, yeah? And then imagine someone else...
If you and your family get justice, that expert needs to go to jail.
I don't know if he needs to go to jail. I won't say it, but it needs to be examined. Now, let's just say, you know your baby. You know everything about your child. Imagine someone else comes and goes, oh yeah, sickle mum, she said that baby's got a freckle on the back of her knee. Sickle mum said she's got a freckle on the back of her knee. Therefore, that's definitive evidence. I'm an expert on freckles. Sickle mum said she's got a freckle on the back of her knee. Yeah? And then imagine you're like, wait, no, that's my child. My baby doesn't have a freckle on the back of the knee.
Because no, it's not. I've experienced wrong medical notes also, so I believe this person.
Yeah. So imagine then, you're like, wait, I know my baby. She doesn't have a freckle on the back of her knee, or he doesn't have a freckle on the back of the knee. The freckle's on the back of the neck. That's your child. So obviously you know where the freckle is, because that's your child. This guy, this expert, he's saying, I've got expert evidence to say that an air embolism happened. And the air embolism expert who wrote the paper that he's relying on is coming out like, dude, that's my paper. It's not an air embolism. He's like, I wrote the paper that you're relying on. It's not an air embolism. Do you get it? So, this NHS nurse is so obsessed with me. She comes on because she can't handle the fact that I exposed the NHS. Some of these people, man, the level of mental illness in our society, man, you guys cannot the kind of comments I get, the kind of people I see, like the people that talk and they don't know what they're talking about. Let's get a guest on, hold up. But yeah, that's his baby, His baby is the paper, the air embolism paper. He's gonna know if there was an air embolism or not. What's up?
Hello, hiya. Evening all.
How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Oh, I can't complain,
Sorry to hear about, your situation and what happened with you. I don't really want to comment on that.
That's all right.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh.
But to do with Lucy, how can they say that she's innocent? There was so much evidence before the media got it. The evidence in her home, the evidence that her head nurse covered up because she felt bad for her, because she was stressed, she was tired.
What was the
babies could have been saved?
What was the evidence that her head nurse covered up?
Yes, when they done the inquiry, if you followed the public inquiry,
I am following the inquiry.
Right, they done a public inquiry on Lucy Letby.
It was on the ward. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the head woman there. She had worried about Lucy and how she was behaving on the ward. Okay, she should have flagged it up, but she had a personal interest because she liked her. She felt sorry for her. If she'd have done her job and just safeguarded and reported it, it would have saved babies.
Okay,
when they went to her home, she had a notepad.
Yeah.
And written down a lot of things that was hatred, kill about babies. So come on.
Yeah.
I do believe hospitals cover things up. I agree with you there, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But with Lucy Letby, totally different.
You're entitled.
Should be in prison,
You're
then no.
you're entitled to your opinion. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
In order for someone to be convicted of M, does there have to be an M?
It depends. You've got a duty of care. She's a nurse.
No, I'm not talking about negligence. I'm saying M-U-R, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say it because...
Yeah, but you can't say that for her because they will never get her for that.
But, no, she's been convicted of it. So I'm saying in order for you to be convicted of something, then that thing needs to have taken place, right?
Yeah, but that's...
Okay, so forget the evidence...
Wait. In a nursing setting, you've got a duty of care. So
the duty of care pertains to negligence, not to M.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
If they unalive at the end of it, yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
You've got a whole rigmarole. You can't have an unexplained event like that with so many babies.
It doesn't. Duty of care pertains to negligence. It doesn't pertain to M. M requires mens rea, intent to cause somebody harm that could lead to death, with knowledge that it could lead to death.
You know
That's
about
M.
duty of candor. You know about duty.
We're not talking about duty of candor. We're talking about
it
M.
comes into it. Yeah, but this is what I'm saying.
No, you're just saying words that I know what they mean, but you don't seem to know that they're not relevant to the criminal threshold. Relevant to convict someone of M has nothing to do with duty of candor or duty of care.
But did they survive her treatment though?
Even if they didn't survive her treatment, that doesn't necessarily mean she's guilty of M. Does that make sense?
Well, I beg to differ on that.
No,
the last
you're wrong.
Babies, hang on. The last two that she got her hands on, they was deteriorating so badly. They knew something was up, but they couldn't prove it. They never had enough to prove it. How comes when they moved them two babies to the next hospital, they survived and they thrived?
Because they weren't. There wasn't actually an attempt to M them. That's why.
They were. Are you serious?
What do you mean? Am I serious?
They was at death's door.
That's because they were on a neonatal ward, so they were unwell on a neonatal ward.
No. They moved them away from her because...
No, they didn't move them away from her. They got moved ward because they got better. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I'm following the case.
You would know how many red flags got raised, but nobody did anything.
You're begging the question, like, you're not staying on the core point of what is necessary to convict someone of M. You're deviating into...
I work in this sector. If
it doesn't matter if you work in the sector. What matters is there evidence of M? So what is the evidence of M? That's what I want to ask you.
The baby's unalive, isn't it? There's your
That's not evidence of M. That's evidence that somebody died. Do you know the difference between a death and an M?
Listen, when you care for people in the thing, you have to fill out your forms and they ask you who was the last people to tend to this baby. Yeah, they ask who was the last people to tend to it. So how comes her name was there all the time?
Okay, shall I tell you why? Because when the prosecution presented the case to the court, they only picked the cases when she was where she was present. It's called cherry picking.
Well, that's a lot of cases to cherry pick then if it was that.
No.
Come on.
Oh my God. Okay, so if there's 100 times that she's on the ward, and then 100 babies pass away, let's say, for example, yeah, and then they only pick the babies that pass away when she was on the ward, you can't then go back and say, see, she was present for all of these. You only picked the times when she was present that babies died. Other babies died when she wasn't there. Other babies died when other people was there. But they only
that does happen. Obviously, that happens in hospitals all the time. But when you've got
the point.
So many babies dying in your care, it raises suspicions. Why can't you see that? Are you that blinded that you can't see it? I don't get it.
Oh my God, bro.
I don't get that.
Okay. Do you understand what cherry picking is?
Don't patronise me. Of course I understand what cherry picking is.
Okay, I'm just gonna get the definition up for the people watching. Okay. So
the duty of care.
Okay, listen, we're not talking about the duty of care. Listen. Cherry picking is to choose and take only the most beneficial profitable items, opportunities, cases from what is available. Yeah? The prosecution is presenting a case. This is a systemic flaw.
Underscore 24 black large square. No, there is failures on multiple levels by the
Exactly.
No, they're saying that there's failures by the hospital. So anyway,
exactly, there was failings. That's what I said to you. They should have called it out. They should have called her out.
but you can't put the cart before the horse and assume that there's an M and then go, the failings was because you could have gone out. First, we have to establish that there was an M. So listen, no. The evidence that you're presenting to suggest that there was an M, the evidence that you're presenting is cherry-picked evidence. Therefore, it's illogical to rely on cherry-picked evidence and then retrospectively say, because she was there for these cherry-picked cases, that's further evidence. No, they've cherry-picked the evidence.
How can it be cherry picking when it's an abnormal rate of deaths? If you was going in for surgery, okay, and your surgeon said, oh, by the way, I've killed 50 people doing this operation, are you going to go to that same surgeon? If people knew, you would not let your baby be looked after by her. Come on, can't you see that? And why didn't people raise the flags on her? Because it's a closed profession.
No, listen.
Yes.
Stay on the topic of cherry picking, okay?
Cherry picking's done. We've gone with cherry picking.
No,
No,
because you keep
let's move over cherry picking.
you keep on committing the same fallacy, which is okay, let's go into a default position. Neither of us know what happened. Let's just say default. Don't assume, oh, they should have said something. Just assume that assume that neither of us know what happened, yeah? What now, present your evidence to suggest that an M happened.
Well, it's the cause and effect, isn't it? When you're putting a tube down a baby's throat,
yeah,
and it's bleeding, and you weren't meant to be touching that tube, and the parent now raises alarm, and she suddenly disappears, and that baby now is moved out of hospital because of that action. That bit alone there is negligence. How are you making blood come out from the baby's throat?
Do you know that negligence is not the same thing as M?
Negligence, okay. When you say about negligence, you can't just say negligence. If I neglect someone and I don't look after them and I don't care for them and they unalive and I'm the last person to take care of them, do you think I can stand in the coroner's court and say, actually, I did this bit, it weren't nothing to do with me? Everybody that was involved in the care
of course, and you might not, and you wouldn't be convicted of M. 99% of negligence doesn't necessarily mean an M happened. So you guys are very the guy in the comments about negligence needs an M. Not necessarily. There has to be a threshold that's met in order for a negligence to constitute an M.
There's neglect, there's negligence.
Neglect is not the same thing as M. What do you not understand about that?
Hang on a minute. It's kind of like intertwined, is it not? Because if you're negligent, you neglect the person. If you neglect the person, you neglect the care. If you neglect the care, they're going to deteriorate. So it all goes hand in hand.
The difference is M requires intent to cause grievous bodily harm, or M. It requires an intent to kill someone. No, I'm saying
all them babies.
I'm saying that you need to present a case that suggests an M took place. You can't present a case that suggests, oh, negligence took place. That's what you're saying. You're saying, oh, there may or may not have been negligence. Now, we haven't established that there was negligence. She's been convicted of M. Do you understand? So they're saying, no, she intended to kill or cause grievous bodily harm to the patient, right? But you're not presenting actual evidence that she did that thing. Do you understand?
Do you think she was mentally sound then?
Well, whether she's mentally sound is only relevant in sentencing.
No. It's a big part of it. Do you think she was mentally sound as a nurse to look after neonatal babies? When you go back to what they found in her home.
Yeah.
And after one of the babies she unalived, she had to take a picture and send to the parent. Is that not mentally disturbed?
She took a picture and sent to the parent.
Yes.
Yes. And how does that suggest that she committed an M?
Because that baby didn't survive.
But how does sending, like, for example, child...
I'm talking about the mental psyche here.
But the psyche...
You have been in charge of a baby that is unalived on your care. You have to take a picture of a baby girl holding it up and sending it to that parent. That parent.
Okay, but what does that have to do with whether she committed an M or not?
I'm talking about her mental psyche.
You're talking about stuff that hasn't... You're talking about stuff that's down the line from whether or not an M took place.
That came first. That got to come first, right?
No, what comes first in a criminal, when you're talking about a criminal threshold, is whether or not the event actually happened. So that's the first thing.
They wouldn't do a psychological evaluation on her, no?
They would do that when it comes...
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's not the evidence to suggest that she's guilty.
No, but it will play a part of it. There's not one straight answer that will say, yes, it's this or that. But whether it's the M or the other M, one of the M's should be applicable. Whether you're meant to or you're not.
okay, let's just take everything that you're saying for granted. Why the expert witness in the case stated that she unalived one of the babies through air embolism, an extremely rare way to unalive someone. The world-renowned expert on air embolism, whose studies that he relied on, has come out and said, no, that didn't happen. How do you contend with that?
What do you mean? How do you contend with what?
Like, how can you reconcile the fact that the expert witness who has stated this is how she unalived the baby relied on evidence to suggest that that's how she unalived the baby from another world-renowned expert, and that other world-renowned expert came out and said, no, this is my study, this is my paper, that's not how this baby passed away. So she's
that's his interpretation.
He's the study that the expert is relying on his study.
So how do you explain though, how do you explain the high rate of mortality in her care with the babies? How do you explain that? Whether it's murder or manslaughter, doesn't matter.
Okay. Do you know that there's a chart that they presented to the prosecution, and it shows the times where she's present on the ward and the times the babies pass away? Yeah. Okay. Have you worked on a hospital ward before, or like in?
Yeah, I do. I work in the NHS.
Okay, you work in the NHS. How often do you show up to work?
Every day.
So you're present every day.
Oh yeah, I go to work.
Yeah. So was Lucy Letby.
And exactly, she went to work every day. Just like how many other nurses on that neonatal ward?
Exactly.
But why are none of them nurses in question? Why is it her?
Because they haven't presented a case to the prosecution, only showing the times where those other nurses were present when babies passed away. Were there other babies that died in the ward other than the ones that Lucy Letby was involved in?
Well, deaths will always happen, unfortunately.
Exactly. So
there's a high mortality rate that she had.
So there are other staff members that are also present on the ward when the other babies passed away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean they committed an M?
No, but they was aware because they had.
That's the point.
They had their own concerns, but
that's the point. So her being present
in the NHS, yeah. If you blow the whistle, especially on doctors, on whoever, you better make sure you're ready to kiss your career goodbye. Don't tell me about whistleblowing and safeguarding. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And I bet you that's most of the reason why people never spoke out, because it's a tough industry and your career is finished.
Yeah, and they frame people like how they're framing Lucy Letby.
We know they frame people.
Yeah, they're framing Lucy.
No, come on.
They're framing Lucy Letby.
Sure? How are you so sure?
Because I've looked at the evidence. You know that the high mortality rate that you're talking about on the neonatal ward, you know, at the same time there was also a high mortality rate on the maternity ward. How do you explain that?
Because it was all on her ward that she was at.
She wasn't on the maternity ward.
But her rate is the highest.
There was a high rate. There was a high rate on the maternity ward at the same time as on the neonatal ward. How do you explain that? How do you explain the high neonatal death rate and the rising neonatal death rate across the whole country? How do you explain the high neonatal death rate in Nottingham? How do you explain the high neonatal death rate in Shrewsbury and Telford? The high neonatal death rate but there's high neonatal death rates up and down the country. Do you understand? It's caused by negligence. It's caused by failures of the NHS, systemic failures, bad culture, poor staffing, outdated equipment. It's caused by systemic.
His baby died and they tried to frame him.
It's caused by systemic problems, and what the NHS does is, because we have people like how we see in the comments in our population, people that are not critical thinkers, people that want to defend the NHS at all costs. Nobody can ever think maybe the problem is actually our NHS. They always want to deflect on someone. These people are deflecting onto Lucy and trying to frame her for a problem that is actually a problem it's a systemic problem in the hospitals in the country. It's a systemic problem in maternity up and down the country. And they keep framing people.
When they done their investigations, why is it everything's spiked when she was on shift? Answer me that one.
I've already explained this to you so many times.
Oh, they covered that up. They made
that up. It's cherry-picked evidence.
It can't be cherry-picked evidence.
Yes.
It was her.
Okay.
Come on.
Do you want to give your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're a bit biased.
Why would I be biased in favour of neonatal nurses?
No, that's not neonatal nurses. That's not the way you're coming across.
Okay, tell me.
To have like a balanced view, you are not very balanced. You're all for her.
Because I know what's happened.
No, you don't know what's happened. You just said none of us know what happened. Was you with her?
I know what's happened with the
You're
expert
reading a
evidence.
paper like everybody else.
I know what's happened with the expert evidence that was presented in her
You
case.
just read a paper. You're not in court. You don't know what's happened.
No, I've actually seen the case. I've seen the court document. I've seen the expert evidence that was presented from the guy. The guy's the same guy that's involved in the case of my daughter.
That's why I didn't want to comment about your situation. That's why I think it's a bit biased.
No, but that's why I'm so confident. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
Well, I can't go against that. I can only say what I'm saying.
Fair enough. Thank you for your perspective. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You know, you're entitled to it.
Relevant.
Oh man, this is I don't want to come across as like rude, arrogant, but like I genuinely think like people just don't understand what I'm saying when I'm saying cherry picked evidence. I just think people just don't understand it. Why don't you go and join a jury? Because you can't just join a jury. Oh God. Okay. Let's see if we can get someone who might be more towards my side. You know, the chat is clearly against Lucy. What's up, bro?
Yeah, no, I
s-
believe what you're saying
sis.
because my local hospital, they were trying to frame parents as well, and then it came out in the newspapers that they actually hired private investigators to look into the people that had obviously died, like family and stuff. So if you Google Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Glasgow, private investigators.
Is this Greater Glasgow and Clyde?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah,
Yeah.
go on.
So I do believe what you're saying. I think it's been multiple failures, not just by one person, because that hospital was already investigated. It was already on alert for failing in their duty of care. So I believe it was just that needed a scapegoat.
Yeah, there's a whistleblower from Greater Glasgow and Clyde Hospital. If you guys search
Yeah,
on YouTube,
yeah, I know who that
GGC,
is.
the ginger guy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I
and
think that's it.
he's coming out and he's saying basically the same stuff that I've come out and said, which is that
they tried to frame him, and he actually worked there.
Yep, they tried to frame it. So what happens is, guys, in the NHS, when you whistleblow, when you say what's happening, when you say they're covering up deaths, they're framing parents, what they do is they report you to the NMC, try and have your registration taken away, reduce your hours, take your job. Sometimes they even come and take your kids away. These people,
Yeah.
how do we...
Well, I believe you. Honestly, I believe you because I've actually accessed my medical files from 1985 up until obviously the present. And when I went through my medical files, I had the files attached for other patients to my medical records. I also had incorrect information put on there. So obviously I raised issues with incorrect information we put on my medical files and stuff. So I do know that it can happen. But I definitely believe that the cover-ups that are happening in Glasgow as well is ridiculous. I mean, what type of trust hires a private investigator to look into dead people's families? Do you know what I mean?
You know, they do this stuff all the time. They do this stuff all the time, and they're using public funds to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And these people are extremely powerful. I don't think that people realize how powerful people in the integrated care boards are, how powerful some of these doctors are, and the influence they have. You know, like on a ward, some of the senior governance people will defer to the senior consultants because they know that when it comes to clinical care, their opinion is going to be held in high regard.
I was trying to say in the comments as well when that lady was on, like maternity services. If you look at the maternity scandals, which is happening and babies are dying,
Yeah.
it's horrendous. I mean, I'm 36 weeks pregnant just now, and I'm actually like, my last labour wasn't great. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I put good support around me, and I'll be taking a lot of people with me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just because of my last experience in hospital as well, do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I do believe what you're saying.
I actually think that we had one of the worst experiences in history of anyone
Yeah.
in a hospital. Because like these people, they were trying to frame me for 5 months straight, multiple staff, 20, 25 staff. They're just constantly fabricating notes every single day about me, every single day, just fabricating because
Trust
I'm
me,
whistleblowing.
I've had it with health visitors and stuff, so I know myself. Like, I know myself what was put onto my files by a rogue health visitor because she didn't want to do her job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But luckily for me, I had someone who was higher up than her. backing me, do you know what I mean? Because if they'd have just took her word for what was said, it looked horrendous on my medical files, but she wrote, do you know what I mean? So I'm like, hold on a minute. They've got control over your life. They can write whatever the hell they like. I
And they
can advise anybody to go and have a look at their medical files.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And they can have you
Because they would actually
sectioned
be
as
very
well.
surprised.
They can
And
have you
I would-
sectioned as well. If you speak out too much, they'll go have you sectioned.
100%. But luckily for me, I had good support around about me, so they couldn't come for me in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think that the kind of narrative that we're, speaking about, why do you think that the public is so opposed to the kind of things that we're saying? Why do they find it so hard to believe that people get
Because
framed
the way
and
the
stuff?
NHS has been brought about to help people. I mean, look during COVID, all clap for the NHS.
Yeah.
Now, from my experience during COVID, I had to fight to get into my gran who's got vascular dementia.
Yeah.
I also witnessed abuse of the elderly. I also reported that and was told by that hospital that I told them obviously what I witnessed.
Yeah.
And they told me because it was not my family member, there was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah.
And I went, that's incorrect. I've witnessed it. They've abused the elderly. I says, because they became complacent that families weren't getting in to see them, like their parents or their family members. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I raised that and I thought that is disgusting and I never clapped for the NHS after that. Do you know what I mean?
So do you think that it's about how the public perceives the NHS, or do you think that this particular case
claps
is
for the
just...
nurses. I mean, they're all great and they're all wonderful. But I also know the NHS is good at its flaws because let's be clear, they've not struck off doctors that have been done for GRAPE.
Yeah.
The amount of sexual assaults that happen in NHS hospitals.
Yeah.
The amount of mental health patients, especially children, vulnerable children. There's one programme just went in Glasgow where children were being abused in mental hospitals. Do you know what I mean? So let's be clear, the NHS isn't as good as what people think it is because there's horrible people that goes into those professions to pick on the most vulnerable of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I often wonder, like, how can you even solve an issue like this with so much censorship, so much public, vitriol, against people who criticize and people that actually want to make positive change, people that are willing to stand up and speak out and say what a lot of people think, but a lot of people are scared to say. There's a lot of people that work in the NHS that I speak to every day. They know what's going on. They know about the cover-ups. We just had a nurse come on who thought Letby was guilty. What did she say? She said, if you whistleblow in the NHS, that's you. Your career's done. Why is that normal? Why is it? In what other profession do you come up and say, somebody's been unalived, somebody's been raped, somebody's been harmed, somebody's been assaulted, somebody's been abused, somebody's suffered racism. In what other profession is it normal?
The start with the Lucy Letby thing was,
Sorry?
when it turned out there was only the janitor who was at witness for the evidence for her, I'm going, hold on a minute, this doesn't make sense. Why is there only one defence witness for her?
Well,
I
yeah,
couldn't
then
get that. That just didn't make sense to me. It was such a high profile case.
yeah.
There should have been a lot more experts on her side.
Let me tell you something. 10 people witnessed my daughter get killed. They fabricated the medical notes. 10 people. Not one of them has come out and said what's happened. So you can understand why they don't, why they don't want to come out and put their career on the line, because at the end of the day, who's gonna go to bat for you? Like, everybody's trying to provide for their family and whatnot. Why should they put their life on the line for you?
I was lucky. My last labour was obviously 11 years ago, and I'm due in 2 weeks. But I was lucky that I was actually 29 when I had my first child, so I was obviously a bit more mature, a bit more headstrong, a bit more assertive. And these two midwives, my experience was, these two midwives, you can tell when somebody's changed their attitude with you, they start treating you different, they start just interacting with you, and you go, are they just having a bad day? And then they kind of brought all this stuff up, and I went, hold on a minute here, where did you get that information from, your medical notes? They actually phoned the social worker me, right? But what they took,
that's what they do.
midwives who were younger than me didn't bank on was, I already knew that social worker. I'd knew her for like 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
Because she was like somebody that was involved in one of my friends' lives, who she actually gave me care of children.
Yeah.
So I says, okay, I'm going to speak to her on the phone, and they actually went chalk white. I went, because I know that person, and you could tell that they were lying. So I went straight on the phone and I said to them, I said to her, why are you, and she went, what are you talking about? They phoned me. I went, but why would they phone you? And she went, I don't know. She went, but what to do is go and sort out, obviously, your baby, then go back and tell me you want to work with them. Or they couldn't apologise. They just didn't bank on me knowing that person.
Yeah.
But unlucky for them for I did, and I held them air the coals, and I took it the full way, and I got an apology. But I thought, if I was younger, that could have knocked me into postnatal depression.
Yeah.
I says, that's not your job to overstep the mark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And make up lies. So that's how I know they can lie.
Yeah, man. You know, our case is in the public eye, and all you people, you see, we got 100 people in the live right now. You see, all you people that have so much smoke for me, yeah. I hope all of you come and send me a message. Yo, bro, I'm sorry. When you see what happened in our case, and when you see Lucy get acquitted, I hope you got the same energy in the other direction when you realise that you're wrong.
Do you know what's getting to me, or the people in the comments to you? They're trying to show empathy for these babies' families, rightly so. Where's the empathy for you? This is what they're forgetting. You want justice and the right way for your baby.
No, they're entitled to their opinion. I'm just, you know, I respect that, thank you, but they're entitled to their opinion. I'm just saying, the same energy you got, I can handle the energy, I can handle the smoke. I'm just saying, the same energy you guys have, that you're so convinced that I'm wrong and I am a self-hating end and all this stuff, just come back with that energy when you realise that you're wrong, and just be like, yo, bro, I was wrong. And I would say to you, and if I'm wrong, if I see something that's like, yo, I'll be the first one to get on the airwaves and say, look, I was bugging, guys. But I'm not going to not say what I think because I'm scared of what everybody's going to say. Because I'm not scared. Like, this is the problem in our society. Everyone's getting censored. Everyone's scared to say what they think. Yeah. Guys, a lot of you guys are talking. You don't even know the details of the case. Be honest with yourself. How many of you have actually sat there and read through the documents of the federal inquiry? How many of you actually sat there, followed the case? How many of you looked at the expert panel and heard what they said? I've sat through the whole thing and listened to it. How many of you have read the New Yorker article that was banned in the UK? You can find it online. Go and read the article. Yeah. Like, go look at the evidence. A lot of you guys, now I'm not saying all of you, just because you disagree doesn't mean, you haven't seen evidence. But many of you have not actually looked into what you're talking about.
People just expect people that are found guilty of such a serious crime against little innocent babies. Yeah. From my perspective, right, as a mum, right, now that doctor that went on the TV and was saying that he had concerns that this was happening, it was down to her, etc., etc. I'm not being funny. If I thought anybody was doing harm to a child, I would went straight to the police. I wouldn't took it above to anybody. Yeah. I got toddled my wee ass right out of that hospital and went to the nearest police station. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen things happening, like, across the road with our neighbour and stuff, and I've phoned the police straight away. I got you. I'm gonna drop you down. We've got some other people requesting. You know, there's a lot of smoke in the comments. Thank you for your perspective. I appreciate it, and thanks for the support that you've been showing on the live. Guys, tap the screen to like the live. I know it's a controversial topic or whatever, but there's a lot of evidence. I guess, well, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that she's not guilty, and there's a lack of evidence to suggest that she is guilty. So, you know, let's get someone else who wants to challenge what I'm saying.
Why would you withhold medical notes of the babies who died in your house? And on top of that, she has diary entries of literally admitting to the murders. And she has cards written out to the parents saying, like, I'm guilty for what I did.
There's cards written. Did you say there's cards written?
Search it. You can
so cards. You said there's cards written to the parents saying what?
Yeah, there was a diary entry where she was talking about what she did.
Yeah. What did she say?
She also did like cards, I think, where she wrote to parents like saying she was sorry, etc. And on top of that, she had medical notes found in her room. If she wasn't guilty, why would she have the medical notes? It doesn't make sense.
So having medical notes means you're guilty of M?
Yeah, because she had the medical notes of the deceased babies. If it was just one medical note, then okay.
So let's read. Let's read what this letter to the parents says. There are no words to make this time any easier. It was a real privilege to care for baby and get to know you as a family. As a family who's always put baby first and did everything possible for her. She will always be a part of your lives, and we will never forget her. Thinking of you today and always. Sorry I couldn't be there to say goodbye. You're saying that's evidence that she's guilty of M?
Yeah, because
no, it's not.
I'm a nurse. Listen, calm down. I'm a nurse myself. and
That doesn't surprise me.
I wouldn't write stuff like that if a child has passed away.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean she's guilty of M.
She is guilty because the diary.
That doesn't mean. Hold on. That doesn't mean she's.
Yes, she's guilty.
We've just stopped saying the same thing over and over again. Let's get into the detail.
Because you're not understanding.
Let's get into the detail of what you just said. You just said that the letter she sent to the parents is evidence that she's guilty. I just read it. How is that evidence that she's guilty? How is that evidence that she's guilty?
Why would you be needing to apologize to parents if you've not done anything wrong?
She's caring for the baby. She's caring.
But why has there been multiple babies died within her care? Okay, so explain to me, why did she take multiple medical notes which were of the deceased babies? Explain to me why. You're not allowed to take notes home.
Does that mean she's guilty of M?
Yes, because why are you withholding medical notes which of the deceased babies? It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that if you're not guilty?
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Would
Let me ask you a question. If I go into the shop and I steal something, yeah, does that mean I'm guilty of M?
Well, you stole something, of course you're guilty.
Am I guilty of M?
No, because you
So
stole
if she,
something.
so if let me finish. No, I let you speak. Stop. Let me finish. Her taking the notes doesn't mean she committed an M.
Okay, if she took one note, okay, I would have been like, okay, maybe. But if she took multiple medical notes, why would she need to take multiple medical notes if she didn't do anything? It doesn't make sense.
I'm not saying she didn't do anything. I'm saying she's not guilty of M.
No, but she is guilty because.
But that's not evidence that she's guilty. That's
it is because it's proving guilt.
I don't think you understand how the legal process works.
It's not like directly saying, okay, yeah, she did that, but it's the thing is, she's doing actions which prove her guilt.
No, okay.
She has actions of proving her guilt.
No, listen. Okay.
Diary entries and the medical notes, like, bro.
We get it. Listen. I'm not talking about circumstantial evidence around what she did. Like, you're talking about things around it.
They all
Wait. I'm talking about what is the key evidence that you're saying that she committed an M. Don't talk about the stuff she did around the events that isn't linked to the actual M. I'm saying, what evidence have you seen that she committed an actual M? Not what was the notes in her home and stuff. I'm talking about the actual events and the causality related to the child dying. Like, tell me what you think she did.
But listen, she what's it called? She injected their babies with oxygen. There's no way wait, hold on, let me finish. There's no way on your shift multiple babies are dying like that.
Okay, let's stay on one. Oh my God, you're rambling. Stay on one point.
Listen,
right? No. We're getting to the detail of what the M is. You just said she injected the babies with air. Yeah. Who said she injected the babies with air?
They would have done post-mortem.
Listen, who said it? Do you know who said it?
They would have done. Are you letting me talk, or are you just?
Do you know who said it?
Finish then.
Okay.
They would have done a post-mortem, right? And that's when we found out that's what she did to the kids.
Who said it in the post-mortem?
The post-mortem people. What am I supposed to know the doctor's name?
I know the doctor's name. No. Listen.
No, but
listen.
Why am I gonna know the doctor's name off my head?
Listen to learn. I know the doctor's name. The doctor.
Okay,
listen. The doctor is relying on evidence from somebody called Dr. Sue saying that an air embolism, the air injection, unalived the baby. The guy whose evidence that doctor is relying on has come out and said, that didn't happen, that's not how my evidence is supposed to be interpreted.
Oh, okay, so you're right, and all the people who have got medical...
Did you hear what I just said?
No, I'm just saying,
oh my God.
You think you're right.
Okay, this girl's not all there. What's up, Katie?
Hello. Oh, Chloe's not here. I wanted to speak to Chloe. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, no, there's no point talking to someone that's not even critically thinking.
But she had some very closed mind points. But one of the points that she was saying was about the papers.
Yeah.
About what she wrote. And on that piece of paper, you'll notice that it also says, I'm innocent.
Exactly.
I did nothing wrong.
Exactly.
Why do people choose to only... And that was also advice of a psychologist. And that's how she felt at that time. She felt like that she was guilty.
Yeah.
And I can't say how Lucy Letby felt or anything. Because, I'm not in her position. but the whole case itself was an absolute shit show, and it was cherry picked, the evidence. The numbers, when it come to all the numbers, they were all massively manipulated. The door pass, that was actually in reverse, so when they thought that Lucy was there, she actually wasn't there.
Exactly, they convicted her. Guys, listen, they convicted her of an M for a case when she wasn't even there.
Well, if you just go,
and nobody's thinking about this.
Like her whole life, right? Bear in mind that the prosecution services have gone through her life with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah.
They found absolutely nothing but a good citizen and a good person and an absolutely brilliant nurse, dedicated to a job. She was taking all the extra hours whenever they were short. So she was the nurse that was on more than any other nurse.
Yeah, that's because
so
they would
she's more likely
exactly
to be there when things go down.
Exactly.
And there was also 29 extra. I think it was 29 or 27, sorry, I don't know the exact numbers, but there was extra baby deaths without the 2 years that she was there, but she's only been pinned to the ones that she may have been around. Again, manipulation, complete manipulation. But, like, when she's supposedly done this air embolism and these different tactics, not only, she hasn't took, serial killers don't do that. Well, they don't act the way that she does. If you look at her history, you know, she's a good citizen.
We can't speculate. I don't think it's good to speculate too much on, you know, her character and her history, because, like someone said in the comments, a good person can commit a heinous crime. But what I feel like we're failing with when we have these discussions, and what I keep trying to bring the discussion back to, is the evidence of M. Now, this point has flown over the heads of every single person that has debated this topic with me.
There is no evidence.
The person who said she unalived the baby by air embolism, he's like, this is a rare way of unaliving a baby. He's like, she did it by air embolism because this is what this guy said in his groundbreaking study about air embolism. The guy who studied
the 90s, that paper was
from. And then the guy who wrote the studies come out and be like, no, that's not what I meant. What do you mean?
Yeah.
So how can the expert witness be relying on evidence from someone who's literally saying that's not what I'm saying?
Yeah, again, manipulated. But I do think her character is a big factor in this, because she would have needed to do research also to work out exactly how much pressure and how much air it would take to cause fatal death, you know, to a person. Where's she done that research? Because the people, the prosecution services have gone through every single device that she's had, and they haven't found anything. They haven't found absolutely anything. I see myself as a good citizen, but if someone was to go through my phone, you know, they would find some questionable things.
All right, don't confess on my life. I don't want no smoke from them. I've got enough smoke.
Just as a general person, but they haven't found anything, like absolutely nothing. All of their friends, all of their families, and her colleagues have also stood by her. Her colleagues, so much, some of them couldn't go to the court because of the stigma it had, you know, supporting a baby killer is what people were looking at it, you know. Yeah,
it takes a certain amount of fortitude in the current climate that we live in society to still be able to stand up, hold your head high, and speak your truth and defend a person who is clearly not guilty. There's probably many people that think she's not guilty, but they don't want to put themselves on the line. But that's just the type of person I am.
It's just like the whole case. So the whole case itself was just manipulated to the high heavens, and it's not a safe conviction. Even if people think that she is guilty or not, you know, that they've got to say that honestly say that it was not a safe conviction and it was not a fair trial.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your perspective. There's a lot of people waiting. I really appreciate that. By the way, guys, this is going out live on Facebook. My Facebook is Amamaduako. If you want to send me some like hate messages or something, feel free. You know, Amamaduako, AMA, surname is Maduako. You can Google and learn about what happened to my daughter. You know, it is what it is. Like, I'm an open book. You guys can criticize me or whatever, but I'm trying to build up my platform. Obviously, we're trying to get public awareness for the kinds of issues that we're talking about. We want to film a documentary exposing corruption in health and social care. And I get that there may be people watching that, you know, you might know me or you might have seen like something that I've been advocating for my daughter and stuff, and you might be like, What? You think Lucy Letby's innocent? I don't F with you no more. You know what? I'm being myself. If you don't want to F with me because I'm telling the truth about the Letby case, you know, jog on. It's cool. Like, we're good over here. So, yeah, follow my platform if you're interested in what we're doing. On YouTube, we're at State of Deception. I'll be uploading clips pretty much every day. Amanda's been spamming saying, Amanda, please don't spam, by the way, but I'll let you off because I get you just trying to get your question answered. Who supposedly framed her? Nobody can answer that question. Well, the senior consultants on the ward framed her. Those are the people that generated a case file and went to the police. They had a meeting about it, and then the meeting notes that they put together mysteriously disappeared. Interesting, isn't it, that one? Okay. Someone said I have a question. Yeah, sure. Guys, if you want to do text-to-speech, follow me, because only followers can do text-to-speech. So follow me, send a gift, and then you can do text-to-speech. The gifts don't go towards me. I don't make money off of this Adora Story platform. All of the money goes to, and donations that people have sent go towards our documentary that we're trying to make, exposing corruption in health and social care in the UK. So don't think it's funny because people think I'm a grifter, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a grifter, grifting to try and expose my daughter's death cover up. Like, oh yeah, I made £300. It was worth it. Like, it was all worth it. £300 for going on TikTok for a whole year straight, like, to film a documentary to help other parents whose children have been taken by social services and deaths have been covered up. Where's my soundboard when you need it?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Right, I need another speaker because this is too quiet for me. Oh Lord, we're only here to dream a bit, guys. I wrote a poem about that. Like, we got a short life, guys. There's no point in spending life being meek and cowardly. You know, it's time for people to start standing up and speaking the truth, speaking truth to power, as they say. Let's get somebody else up. Oh, shaking. What's up? Hello.
What's happening? First of all, I want to say very, very sorry to hear about your daughter.
Thank you.
Very sorry. As a father myself. I've seen you on live a few times.
Yes, sir.
I've come across your lives a few times, and I do believe, like, what I'm seeing from your energy is pain.
Okay.
I know that it's going to be a bit of a different one. Like, from what I'm seeing, I don't agree with what you're saying. However, I think it's coming from a place of hurt.
What is coming from a place of hurt?
Basically, what you're trying to say about certain situations, but we don't know about Letby. We don't know about Letby. We're not in the court. We don't know what. I haven't seen all the evidence. You haven't seen all the evidence. I don't believe you're...
I've seen a lot of the evidence. Sorry, go on.
I do think you're very. I think you're very. I think it's coming from a place of hurt. That's what I'm observing from you.
Okay.
So observed it from what you're saying about the NHS's failings, and it does have failings. We know that.
Yeah. I
don't disagree. I just think what you're saying is just very, very from a place of hurt, and I'm very sorry to hear about your daughter again.
Okay. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I've been pretty open about my motivations for doing lives. I'm trying to build a platform. Like, if somebody, God forbid, did something to your child and took your child's life, would you not try to expose what happened?
I would.
Right.
I think I would.
How do you expose?
No, I don't disagree with you. That's the thing.
How do you expose what? How do you expose what is happening in a country where you're censored for speech, where there's organised crime groups in the health service that get away with harm and they target people and try and take people's kids and arrest people? What would you do if you were in my... Hold on, bro. Hold on. You're in my position. You're in my position, yeah. And then not only is it happening to me, but I've got people calling me every single day saying, please, Amma, don't stop. Please, this is happening to me. They've took my kids. My baby's been passed away. What would you do?
I would do the same as you.
So why does it matter whether it's coming from a place of hurt or not?
What I'm saying is that what I'm seeing, it looks like from a place of hurt. I wouldn't like to be in that situation. I don't know how I would feel. I couldn't, we always say there's words for certain things. There's words for someone that's lost a husband or wife. We call them widow. We've got a person that loses a parent, is an orphan. But we don't have a word for someone that loses a child. That's how powerful it is, because it's such a thing that people don't want to make a word for it. This is a thing where I think you're coming from a good place of pain. I could be completely wrong, but I do think.
Why would there not be pain if somebody lost their child? But the conversation.
I'm disagreeing with you. What you're saying.
Do you know what it is, bro? It's not.
I've got 2 girls myself.
Yeah.
I've got 2 daughters myself, right? Like big age gap, but that's neither here or there. That's not good to, not anything to do with anything. But they're my world. I don't know what I would be like if I lost a child. I would say that what you're doing isn't wrong, and I don't think what you're saying is wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, we don't have everything that we need in this situation, because this is okay. It's in the public eye, as you said your case was as well. I think it's just a case of we need to kind of let the justice system take care of what's happening. I know you want to kind of be there for
the justice system is us.
Yeah. Yeah. What? No, you're not wrong.
We are the justice system.
You're not wrong, bro.
We are the public opinion plays into these kinds of things. This is bigger than Letby. This is about what's going on in the UK, and no one's speaking about it. We're all just sitting there going, "Oh, someone got arrested for speech. It wasn't me. I'm not going to say anything." Oh, another. I don't think people understand the dude. What's going on in the NHS here is way bigger than me. It's not. It's bigger than my daughter.
I'm so sorry.
The abuse, the suffering that people have been. Bro, I'm telling you, yeah. I've had. Hold on, bro. I've had 70-year-old women, yeah, call me, tell me they haven't left their house in 20 years because the NHS covered up their child's death. Who is speaking for them? Who is speaking? No. Who's speaking for Lucy? No. Lucy was wrongfully convicted. Who's speaking for her?
Right, but the thing is,
who's speaking for me? No one's speaking for me, bro. Listen. No. As a society, as men, as women, it's time for us to stand up and start doing the right thing, bro. We can't be cowards in this society anymore, because you may think that what I'm doing.
Can I just address something with chat?
Sure.
Right, the people that are calling you rage baiter and all the rest of it. When I first saw you, I thought you were, until I knew your story. I don't believe you are a rage baiter. I think what it is that people in this chat, or that don't understand you fully, don't realise what it's like, or what it would be like to lose a child. I couldn't imagine it. I can't imagine it, what it would be like. For me, I think that what you're doing is completely not out of rage bait. You are completely doing it out of hurt.
It's not about hurt, bro. It's not about hurt. It's about no, because you know, someone just commented, when you see the real NHS, it changes you, bro. I'm seeing criminal mafias. Like, this is not a joke, bro. That this is not me losing a child and then being like, because I lost a child, that means you're a criminal. There's organized crime taking place. I'm seeing it, bro. Like, I've 3 years of analysis. Yeah, I've broken down every step. I've seen the guidelines, how they're out of sync, how they cover it up, how they frame parents. I know how they do it. Like, what I tell people on live is only a fraction of what I've been able to accumulate. I can't jeopardize my court case. I can't jeopardize all the information that I know and start telling all the people's stories and exposing the whistleblowers that contact me from the ward that killed my child, from the ward that, like, I know so many people that are involved in this. So, but the thing is, it's about, I'm not the best orator. Like, I might not be the best, come across the best. I know that. I'm trying to work on it.
No, you're all right. No, you're not bad at this.
But I'm saying like, it's literally impossible to take what's in here and put it, or to put the public to understand. They'll never understand what I've seen.
You may never be able to articulate what you've seen, but the thing is, as I said, your situation, what you're feeling, you're very much like, you're very much in pain. I can feel you. I can see pain in you. And I just wanted to say that, obviously, you know, your situation is very different to what Lucy Letby has done. You know, you don't know fully exactly what's happened. I'm very sorry, again, I'm very sorry that you've gone through what you've gone through. And I apologize. I can only say sorry to you, bro.
Yeah, I respect that. I appreciate it. And I know that, like, you're coming from a place of humanity and trying to, like, empathize with me and stuff. But again, I just want to reiterate, the fight that people are fighting is more than emotions. There are practical things that need to change. There's things that need to be exposed. And that's just a matter of fact. It's not a matter of how it makes me feel. But, you know, I appreciate, like, your angle. I just don't think that it's as relevant to what I'm trying to do, because of course I'm going to be in pain.
That's fine.
Yeah, because of course I'm going to be in pain, but the pain takes away from the purpose. Like, if I could sit, there's people that go through what we've been through, and, you know, everyone goes through stuff, and some people choose to sit in bed and wallow in pity. I choose to get up every day. I take care of my kids. I work on my business. I do my lives. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a choice. It's a choice. I could cry on live every day. I feel the pain. I got PTSD. I could be here and constantly get pity for myself. But to me, it's not just about myself. It's about the wider picture, the wider conversation. It's about...
They never come to the end, though. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But never stop believing what you want to feel, you know? That's what I will say. I'm not trying to be patronising, as someone said.
Yeah,
At all. I'm a parent also, and I just couldn't imagine what you're feeling. So I can't be how am I patronising if I don't know how you're feeling? I'm kind of trying to tell you what you should feel. I'm just telling what I'm seeing. I'm just telling what I'm seeing, and it doesn't feel like you are in the wrong. I don't think you're in the wrong in what you believe. I believe you believe in what you're seeing and what you're hearing. However, we don't know every case that comes under the NHS is, you know, a let down. You know, sometimes there's other factors. That's why there are courts. That's why we do courts. That's why we do certain things.
I recognise that. One thing I will say, and thank you. This is gonna sound very rude. It might even sound arrogant, but I think a lot of people underestimate how intelligent I am, and they underestimate the level of evidence that I have. So people can talk, and I'm not saying just you, but I don't think people realise the significance of what I'm actually telling them. I think that people want to believe that I'm just a TikTok guy talking S online. If, you know, the evidence that I've managed to gather, if given proper light and exposed properly, has the potential to shake the core of this nation. And that's the truth. Because when people realise what has happened to us, and what happens to people like Lucy, and what happens to other people, and that this has been happening, and that no one's been able to expose it, but I have actually, in my small way, been able to kind of expose it, and that they're trying to put me in prison. You understand? When people see the mechanisms of how it works, that's when the eyes of people can actually open and be like, wow, like, so, you know what I mean? It's not about me, bro. Do you get it? If it was about me, I'll just go back to doing things that make me money, and just, I don't really care for attention that much. Like, I only started speaking publicly when my daughter passed away. I had no social media up before that. So, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, just keep the good fight, man. If you want to drop me, you can, but...
Yeah, I'm gonna...
It's up to you.
Thank you,
I'm just saying, you just come across as a grieving father.
I am a grieving father. I am a grieving father.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I couldn't imagine, bro. But sorry to hear that again.
Thank you, bro. It just dropped me down. But that's...
Are you doing a documentary?
Are you doing a documentary? Yes, we are trying to do a documentary where... This is part of the reason why I go live as well, to get awareness, funding, so that we can, you know, get the documentary done. Because the documentary, again, is not about me. I know I'm an arrogant so-and-so, but the documentary is not about me. So, you know, if I'm a grifter or something, why am I doing a documentary? Because the documentary is other people's stories. Why am I doing a documentary? You know what I mean? You're talking factuals, using scapegoat, the NHS is ruining hospital poor care. Yeah, and unfortunately, this is not the topic of the live, but many people have been unalived by the NHS in the past few years, and some of you guys don't even know that your relatives are unalived by the NHS. Smoke on that. Smoke on that. Some of you don't even know that your relatives are unalived by the NHS. Because the cover-up, the same way that this case has gone over your head, and I'm not trying to be rude, but the same way this case went over your head, the cover-up went over your head. They just told you C19. Oh no, C19. You didn't look into it. You didn't get the medical notes. You didn't do the subject access request. You didn't do the covert recording, cross-reference it. You didn't do the forensic download of the phone, start looking at the dates and times. You didn't start cross-referencing who was present on the ward. You didn't start looking into who holds the position of this, that, and the third, who's on the child death review board, or who's on the review board, or who is meant to do the PSI. And you didn't do the work that I did. So you don't even know that your relative's death was covered up, unfortunately. And AI is a big help as well, because that's where you can learn about the statutory duties and different rights that you have, and things like the duty of candor, NMC guidelines, GMC guidelines, NICE guidelines, NHS contract, CQC guidelines. Oh, it will. It's going to solve things in the NHS by force, because we're no coward over here. Ain't no shame in my game. Ain't no shame in my game. I found new propane. What is it? I found new... Oh, yeah. Ain't no shame, bro. I'm not scared of these people. I'm not scared. And that's... Honestly, that's the difference, bro. That's the difference. Some of you people are scared. You're scared to go get the subject access request. Go get your medical notes and then come back. And then let's talk about them. Go get your medical notes. Go look what they wrote on your relative's medical notes. And be like, well, hang on a minute. I was there. That didn't happen. Then when you see cover up, what are you going to do? You build your platform from scratch like I done. Speaking every day. Going this meeting and that meeting. Cross-reference this and that and the third. Are you going to do it? Or are you just going to say, oh, it was C19? Okay. We're not the same, some of us, bro.
Fair play to you.
Cheers, mate. Hello, mate.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Alright, sorry. So I'm just curious as to your reasoning, because I actually haven't done much research in the case.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna argue here without doing research. Like I wanna hear what you think. I'll do my own research, and if I agree or disagree, I'll come back. But I'm quite curious.
Respect.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think the best resource on this, and this this journalist, I think, deserves an award for this. So if you want to learn about this case, it's not actually banned in the UK anymore. So this article is the New York. Just type in New Yorker. That's the name of a newspaper from New York. New Yorker, Lucy Letby. It's a story by Rachel Aviv. I think that would be the best piece that I've read, at least, other than looking at the actual cases, like the Rex versus Letby or whatever, like the actual what do they call it, documentation of the trials and stuff.
Yeah,
you can look. Yeah, this, if you read through this, it presents a very compelling case surrounding or pertaining to her the lack of strength of the conviction. Okay, I'd say the key points are around the causes of the deaths, so air embolism and supposedly unusually high amount of insulin that was found in babies that actually ended up surviving, and that was designated as an attempted M. Then there's some of the other circumstantial things, like the fact that she was convicted. I don't know if this article addresses it, but Lucy was convicted of an M when she wasn't there for one of them. Then there's the air embolism thing. That was presented by an expert witness to the court, and he said, we think that this baby died by air embolism. Mind you, the initial postmortems for every one of these babies said that it was a natural causes death. So that's strange, isn't it? All of the babies get designated natural causes death by the coroners, and then all of a sudden, when the senior consultants know that the hospital is about to be reinvestigated for the deaths, they then go to the police and then submit a file to the police saying, oh, actually, we think it's Lucy Letby that's done this. After they accused her of it, there was a review on Lucy Letby. It was found that she didn't do anything wrong. The consultants were asked to apologise to her, and she wrote a letter to them saying, oh, we're going to have to coexist. So I wouldn't say she had beef with them, but she had some kind of
tension.
There was a tension there where it's like, you said I've done something, you tried to kind of implicate me in something, I got found that I didn't do anything. Then she writes this letter to them basically being like, yo, like, we're gonna have to work together, like, don't try and do this again, just like accept that I didn't do anything, kind of thing. That's it. Subsequent to that is when they then realize, oh, now that it's found that Lucy didn't do anything, they're going to investigate the trust and see what's happened with these deaths. Then these consultants then get together and decide to present a case to the police saying, oh, that Lucy was present for all of these. Now, they presented many cases that Lucy was present for, and then it got whittled down to only a certain number of cases, and then they're using that to suggest that because she was present, she may have been involved in unaliving these children. But the key thing, and this is the key point why I'm saying that she is not guilty of M, is because just because she's present doesn't mean she committed an M. They would need to show that there's been a sequence of events that she, some action that she took to cause the M. And what they are suggesting as the actions is the air embolism and the insulin. So essentially the whole case, irrespective of what note she took home, irrespective of whether she was present or not, the whole case actually hinges on what they're saying that she did. Now, what they're saying she did is injected the baby with air, injected the baby with insulin. If it can be shown that that is not a reasonable theory of what she did, or that it's irrational, or that it cannot be substantiated through medical evidence, then that means there's no evidence that she did anything, which means that she's not guilty.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely doing research on it, because my thing is like, so let me get this straight. So you completely think she's innocent? It's not like you don't think it's like manslaughter or? I don't
say innocent. I don't say innocent. She's not guilty of M. You know.
Okay, you just think she's not guilty of that.
That's the only thing that the evidence suggests to me. It doesn't suggest to me that she's totally innocent of anything. Whether she's totally admitted. And remember, in a criminal case, the threshold is beyond reasonable doubt. All they have the threshold for M involves intent, but to charge even, but to convict someone, it has to be beyond reasonable doubt. Yeah. Okay. So that means that even if a person thinks, I think it's more likely that she did it than she didn't do it. Yeah. If they have doubt as to if she did it, they, in legal terms, they will say, you must acquit. Now, technically, you don't have to acquit. There's something called the juror's conscience, which means that a jury member can actually sentence someone who they think is not guilty, or say guilty to someone who they think is not guilty, or they can say someone's not guilty if they think that they are guilty. So the juror's conscience means that.
That's because Vic Snowky's had a really bad experience with his daughter due to NHS.
Yeah, the juror's that's true. The juror's conscience means that the jury, ultimately, their conviction is what the jury says is ultimately the most important thing. Whether or not what they believe or not, it doesn't matter. But the direction of the jury is such that, you know, they are told, if you have any reasonable doubt as to if this person is guilty, you must acquit. You must say not guilty. So the question becomes even more leaning towards her not being guilty of M, because the question is not even, can you suggest a cause of, is there doubt can we make a connection between the cause of death? That's not even the question. The question is there reasonable doubt? Can a reasonable person think that if there's no evidence that she committed the air embolism, that there's actually doubt as to that conviction? Of course there's reasonable doubt. If the method that they use to determine the high insulin levels is not the method that they're supposed to be using, is that reasonable doubt? Of course that's reasonable doubt. So if there's reasonable doubt, then that means that she's not guilty. Well, it means that she should be found not guilty. But it may be that the jury is not as was not as qualified to even ascertain her level of guilt, because it's when medical negligence cases and M's on wards are extremely complex and difficult to prove, right? So that's why I think it's important that her case is reviewed. I don't know why she was denied an appeal. I think that's suspicious, but reviewed by people who understand these things. Not saying that there's people that don't understand it, but people that recognize, okay, there's been cherry picking involved here. Okay, there's actually doubt as to the strength of the medical evidence. Okay, there's prosecution witnesses that can be undermined by their previous testimony and by things they've said since. Okay, there's the presentation of new evidence, in this trial that suggests that this person is not guilty. So it's about the reasonable doubt, and the case does raise really interesting questions as well about the use of juries, which are being considered incidentally by the CPS, and I think it is by the CPS, but whatever the bodies are that determine how trials are undertaken, they are talking a lot about this, like, you know, where do the jury, where does the jury come in, and should we have more judge trials and stuff like that. So it's an interesting case from that perspective. But no, I'm not waffling. I've just well researched on this. Don't undermine me and try and, you know, make it seem like I just don't know what I'm talking about. I get it. You don't get it. Don't try and make out like I don't know what I'm talking about. But sorry, go on, mate.
No, I just, because obviously I don't know the case, so I'm not going to come here and argue without, like, getting my facts right. But because obviously because I just joined the live, I wanted to hear your reasoning behind it, because I want to do my own research as well about it. But,
okay.
In terms of, so you are arguing that she's not, so your case is that she's not guilty of murder.
Yes.
Is that, so do you have an idea of, like, what, because the babies were obviously did die, but are you saying that it was neglect from the NHS?
Yes.
And then they didn't want to be exposed, and then they pushed it onto Lucy, or you saying someone else did it? Okay.
Yes, I'm saying that there's no M's. It's just medical negligence deaths that they happen a lot. Well, they're not more. They don't happen more often than not, but they happen a lot. So and they are routinely covered up.
Okay, I hear you. I'm not gonna say whether I believe or not. I was just quite curious to hear your point of view, because I just joined the live.
No worries.
But yeah, I'll just drop down. But yeah.
Respect, thank you. Apparently there's a lawyer here. Let's see, 1 second. Guys, also give me feedback on just my live skills in general, because I do want to improve. I don't know if I'm as good at this. Obviously, I'm still gonna do it because I'm trying to build my platform. But feedback would be appreciated if people get what I'm saying, or just I'll take it on the chin. I promise. Who is the lawyer? 1 sec. Bring the lawyer up. Who's the lawyer? Is it Alexandra? Are you the lawyer? Oh, let's just get someone else up.
You just keep doing what you're doing.
Cheers. Reem is the lawyer? Oh, Alexandra said she is a law student. Cece?
Yeah.
What's up?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, that's good. I just want to say bravo for how you handled that lemon guy earlier, because that was a bit awkward to watch. But what I will say is something that completely went over his head was that was really difficult for us to watch, because we could tell that he was trying to express empathy and everything. But the way he did it was so socially awkward. And that could be exactly what Lucy Letby did when she wrote those cards.
What do you mean, like
it could be this. It could be the same behaviour. Like she was trying to express empathy in a way that we would find socially awkward.
Yeah.
But there's perfectly logical and normal, like, reasons behind it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I remember once I was working. I won't say, but I was working at a retailer like a few years back. And someone called me on the phone, and then they were like trying to buy like a black like jacket, and then they were just like, they kept signing everything. I want to buy this black jacket. I said, oh yeah, we've got a discount on that, and then they said, oh no, I'm not gonna get that one, even with the discount, it's too much. I said, excuse me, like, I just curious, are you okay? Like, you just don't sound very well. She said, yeah, that she's just buying the jacket because it's actually a relative's funeral, and she said she really wanted this one, but she can't afford it. Now, don't get me wrong. It could be that I was absolutely manipulated, but I processed a discount for her that I wasn't actually supposed to, because after speaking to her, I became convinced that yes, this is legitimate. This person is dealing with bereavement and stuff, and I processed some crazy discount, like 40% discount or 50% discount, which I wasn't supposed to. So then after, the management took me aside and they were like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, why did you process that discount?" And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, she said that her relative passed away. Now, obviously, in hindsight, it's like, yeah, well, now, you can't do that, because people could just then start calling in and saying, oh, my relative passed away, to get a discount. But that was my awkwardness of, trying to empathize with someone and then missing the mark. Does that, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. I see what you mean, because I fall victim to that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. it's quite scary that some of the other people that have come on these calls as well, on these lives, sort of haven't really realised that a lot of the things they're arguing, they think they're arguing against Lucy, but they're actually kind of making the argument for her that she's not guilty of M. And a lot of them don't have a really good understanding of the case. Like, even people I've spoken to, they haven't known that there was a psychological report on Lucy. They didn't know that the doctor in that was saying that she had a really challenging bedroom. But then there's actually pictures of her bedroom.
Hi, Sarah. Sorry, go on.
There's actually pictures of her bedroom up online, and if you go look, it's a perfectly normal woman's bedroom. The way he describes it as being really childlike, you would think it'd be, you know, pink, have thousands of teddies on the bed or whatever. There's like one teddy, it's a cream bedroom with some flowery curtains, that's it.
Yeah.
So the people that are coming on these lives, they don't even have a really good understanding of the facts of the case. And then a lot of it is either emotional sort of projection onto you, as you've said, trying to give you empathy, but then completely missing the fact that that's exactly what Lucy could have been doing herself.
And sometimes psychopaths take advantage of that perception of people where they do something socially awkward, and because the psychopathic mind oftentimes struggles to consider the feelings of another person, they consider that person may have the same psychopathic motivations that they do. In simple terms, sometimes a bad mind person is going to think everyone else is bad mind as well, but really not everyone's bad mind. Maybe that's just the way that you looking at them, you know what I mean? Like, you looking at them with a dark heart and you think that their actions are dark, but it might be that, you know, that's her extreme guilt at even caring for the child. Like, some people, that's literally how they feel. Like, I know that if I was involved in something like that, I would feel terrible, even if I, you know, of course I wouldn't have done anything, but if I did totally nothing, then, you know, I would feel so bad that I would try and go out of my way for the families. And the funny thing about it is the NHS actually tells the staff, don't speak to the parents, you know, don't do this, don't do that. And I'm sure some of them want to contact the parents. I'm sure there's people in our case that want to contact me and be like, listen, Amma, like, I know that they tried to frame you. Like, listen, I'm sorry that I didn't speak out. Some of them want to do that, but they can't. They've been told by the trust that they can't do that. So, in fact, when we were on the ward, there was nurses saying to us, listen, the person framing you is that person. I'm sorry, I can't say anything, but I don't want to lose my job. So, you know, I know that we were being framed because the nurses were telling us, it's that person framing you. But these people, they got their hands tied, because what you going to do, lose your livelihood to defend 1 out of 500 people that you deal with in a year or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's the problem with sort of all this individualized thinking that we've got going on, and neoliberalism, and what you said earlier, that we need to stick together and learn the systems together so we can all support each other, is 100% true, and that's why they want us all divided. I mean, I'd like to say that if I was there and I'd witnessed what was happening with your daughter, that I would stand up for it, and I have done in past situations, but it came back at me tenfold.
Yeah.
And I know other people that have been screwed over through the NHS. I had a friend that was dying of sepsis, and they tried to diagnose her with borderline personality disorder. And
wow.
It was only that I requested her medical records. Well, I got her to be cognizant enough to request her medical records, and I went through them and realised she's got sepsis. You can't diagnose someone with a personality disorder when they've got sepsis. And then I helped her fight that, and we got an apology. We didn't get anything else. Through pals, we got an apology, that was it. And it was taken off of her medical records. But there's many women here on TikTok that have very similar stories. There's a woman here on TikTok, actually, who had a brain infection, very similar to sepsis, maybe like encephalitis or something.
Yeah.
And then you put her in an institution, and then she rolled off of the bed because she was catatonic from this brain infection, landed on a radiator, and the burn went all the way through to the bone, so she's fully paralyzed now. And the whole time, all she needed was antibiotics, and they put her in an institution.
Yeah.
So we know that the NHS is failing people terribly. People are dying and coming out with injuries, but for some reason, everybody just thinks it's this one-off case
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
And for some reason, when people hear you speak, they think, oh, well, they're focused so much on their emotions that are brought up from your story, because it is devastating, that they absolutely fail to look at how you are building your opinions, and that you're building it evidence-based. And that I've corrected you before in lives. I've said to you, that's not actually true, this is the case. You've Googled it and you've gone, yeah, that's right, you were right about that thing. You've updated your thinking, and then you've continued. That's critical thought. But a lot of the people coming on the lives aren't able to do that. As you're updating them, as you're saying, Google this, Google that, we can look at it. I do. Every time you tell me to, I Google it. I go, oh yeah, he's spot on. Yeah, he's spot on. 99% of the time, you're spot on. These people aren't. What's scary is those are the people on the jury.
Yeah, and that's why I think, because I am really interested in law. I'm not gonna act like I'm a lawyer, because I'm not, but I'm really, like, I read legal cases almost every day, and like I find it really interesting that cases like this, people act like, you know, they look at it from an emotional standpoint, but some of these cases have such significance for our society, and it's like people don't even realize how powerful it is. Like for example, there was a Supreme Court judgment recently of another family that the NHS framed. They turned off this child's life support, and then they had the father arrested. If anyone's seen, there's a viral video of the dad being arrested from the ward. It's I believe it's a Muslim family, a mother and a father, and the dad gets arrested from the ward. They took their case to the after, and then I think his baby passed away after that. They took their case to the Supreme Court, and they actually, the Supreme Court ruled that parents are actually now allowed to name consultants and doctors and nurses that are involved in their child's care, because of these principles that surround like a person's right to like basically talk out about, you know, care that they received from people who are in public positions, because there are principles of law that basically state that, you know, if you're a public official, or even if you're in public service, you can't have the same expectation of privacy and not being held publicly accountable as other people. Do you get me? So it's like, these cases are so significant for all of us to have an understanding, and you don't have to be a lawyer to look at these cases critically, because one day you might get called to jury, and your jurisprudence, is that the right word to use in this context, your understanding of the law could be the difference between someone being guilty and not guilty. And so that's the thing, the common law is for all of us. It's not for them and then not us. We're all part of the system. We should be, at least. And the system seems to have become the belligerent against us, and then we hate the system hates us. But we're supposed to be in this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if people were held more accountable, people in power, particularly judges. I mean, recently we heard about that Sarah case of that little girl that was put in her dad's care, and then him and his wife murdered her. And they originally said that the judge could have sort of not immunity, but whatever it is when they don't put their...
talking about this to Alma. I have been working with Richard Gill and wrote an essay.
Yeah, Sarah's good. Sarah knows a lot about like some of the stuff that the NHS do, and she does like research on some of the studies. So Sarah, in it, we got a whole like, there's loads of us in it. They think I'm just on here yapping. There's loads of us all digging deep every day, and they think I'm just coming here talking BS on the anyway, sorry, CC.
No, that's cool. There's a lot of us that are looking deep into the systems. I've been looking a lot into NHS, particularly pathology, into the courts as well, which is why I was just talking about the judge. So it was overturned, and they did say that his name should be released because he didn't deserve the same level of privacy, because it comes with that type of job. That's his role. That's, you know, if you're going to judge over people's lives, you have to also take it that people are going to judge your judgments. But yeah, I've been looking at how sort of pathology is used in courts as well. And, you know, until recently, there wasn't even a standard of what a psychologist could be called. So it's only actually in recent years that they've said that psychology is a protected term. So before that, anybody could go into a court and call themselves a expert in psychology and start doing psychological assessments on people, because there wasn't actually a specific level that they had to be to. So not many people know that. You know, there was many people in sort of going to family court in 2015, 16 or Crown Court or whatever, where they were using therapists, and you only sort of needed a level 1, 2, 3 therapy qualification to do that. Well, that's lower than my fashion degree. So I could have popped that out in 6 weeks. Do you know what I mean? I could have passed that course, popped it out in 6 weeks, and then I've been going and doing assessments that have life-altering effects on people's lives.
Thanks for the gifts.
And it's insane, really, that because everybody thinks if it's going to be a court expert, it will be an expert. But as you mentioned earlier, they used a pediatrician when they should have used in Lucy's case, what was it? A pediatrician, and then they should have used
I mean, I think they did use experts, because I've seen a lot of there wasn't just one expert testament, there was a couple. They've, you know, in a case like that, they'll get proper, like, so-called experts. I just think that it's kind of questionable what the motivations of some of these people are, because, you know, you can say that you're impartial when you're dealing with the NHS, but you're dealing with probably the most powerful conglomerate of incorporated bodies in the whole country. You're dealing with you're dealing with the system. Like, these people are the most powerful people. Do you want to go against them and undermine your career? You know, do you want to be called as a prosecution witness in other times and get medical legal payouts? Of course you do. And you don't want to go against them and 100%. Damage your reputation. So people act like
thinking you was defending the NHS.
That's right. People act like these people are just unbiased experts. No, they get paid to do their thing that they do. This is their bread and butter. You think they're gonna bite the hand that feeds them?
Yeah, well, it's the same with police as well. Anyone that goes up against the police, look what happens.
Yeah.
And we've got so many cases. I think it's insane when people say, you know, the police wouldn't do those sorts of things. We've got so many cases where the police have done those sorts of things, like the Stephen Lawrence case. That went on for 20 years before the police admitted what they'd done there.
Yeah, and I was watching a video the other day about someone was talking about Stephen Lawrence's parents, mother, and the whole video, everyone was disparaging them. Oh yeah, you know, she's trying to make money and all this. I'm just thinking, Jesus Christ, you can never win in public opinion, can you? Like, your child gets unalive, they cover it up, all this stuff, and then what do the public have to say? Oh, you know, you just want to pay out, oh, you know, our police force. And it's the same with the NHS, you know. Our NHS, how dare you? People tell you, how dare you get a payout from the NHS and take money away from others? You know, take money away from other people. It's like, you can't win with the British public sometimes.
But you can't, but it doesn't make sense where any of these things are coming from, other than zero critical thinking. And that's the scariest part, because saying in the Stephen Lawrence case with the mum and everything, that a mum wouldn't fight the entire time for justice for her child, or a father in your case wouldn't fight for justice for their child. I know you're going to be doing this for 60 years if that's what needs to happen. And that's what any parent should be doing. I respect that.
Yeah.
I think all other parents would be doing that if they had the strength.
You'd be surprised.
Of parents don't have the strength to do it.
You'd be surprised. This thing goes deep. How much I use the word brainwash. I know people think it's rude, but the brainwashing goes deep. Some people are so brainwashed that they won't even advocate for their own child, and it's sad, but it's the sad reality. Like, they will just say, well, you know, the doctor said this, so. Or it's that they just don't want to, they put their career first, or their other kids. I don't know what their motivations are. Now, what you said about, you know, I'd be doing this for 60 years. The truth is, I hope I won't, because it's about evolution, and I can't bring my daughter back. So whatever I'm doing, it's going to have to evolve appropriately with, you know, I've got other kids, you know, what am I going to do? Like, keep my attention on one child for my whole life and to the detriment of my other kids? That's not fair, is it?
Very true. I also don't actually know how old you are, so you might not even live that long.
How old do I look?
But you look great. Whatever age you are, you look great.
Okay. Someone told me I looked 19 the other day, but I'm not 19. Maybe I'm just trying to. No, I'm 28.
The twin and multiple community must stand together.
Oh, 30.
Twins' parents are twin parents.
Oh, you said I look 30. All right, 30 then. What? No, this is for you, man. About 30. Which?
Yeah, well, you look good for 28. Whatever age you are, you look good. But
thank you.
So maybe you could go on for another 60 years. You could have it in.
You know they say black don't crack, baby. You know they say black don't crack.
Yeah, you're right. At some point, you know, you hope it doesn't go on for that long. But
Yeah.
you know, there's also the sort of, once you put so much in it, after a while, you then kind of compelled to keep going, right?
Well, there's a lot of things that are still like really relevant for us. Like, for example, we haven't had an inquest. We haven't. You're making a black man blush. No, we haven't had an inquest. We haven't had an inquest. We haven't had a child death review. You know, there's been no like inquiry into the maternity services. There's so many things that just basic things that we should have got that we haven't got. So, you know, if we can get some kind of justice and fairness, then, you know, before I didn't even want to do this. I remember I was reading my group chat the other day with my family when my daughter passed, and I was like, guys, we're not going to go for money. We're just going to move on. We know they've been horrible to us, but let's stick together as a family. And then a few months later, I received the post-mortem, and they're trying to frame me and say that I tried to harm my own daughter after they killed her. And I'm like, oh, no. Now you're going to get endless smoke forever now. Like, why would you do that? Like, they just, these people, man, they're just criminals.
Yeah, exactly. It just ignites the fire to keep on again. And I've said it to you before in messages. I think your case, it reminds me a lot of that Take Care of Maya that we saw on Netflix.
Yeah, it is like that. It's basically the same thing.
I think we need a big case here in Britain that is like that can show how many different systems are involved. Because with yours, there was social services.
Yeah.
Because they sided with the hospital.
Yeah.
The police then didn't do anything about it.
The police have arrested me 3 times.
Well, yeah, and then what did they try and do? Give you a stalking protection?
So the police, when I witnessed my daughter get the event that killed her, I was screaming, and then I like threw a chair like toward, like not at someone, but like I threw it out the way, like because I was screaming because I witnessed my daughter like go to zero, and then they had me arrested for a public order offence, and then in the statement it literally said, the chair nicked the basically they're trying to say that I caused damage to their property, and it caused a nick on the like screens that you put when you're like breastfeeding, and I'm just like, okay, like I got no further action for that. Then they arrested me for I think it was harassment. Yeah, they arrested me for harassment because I posted the names of the people that were covering up my daughter's death online. That got no further action. Then they've arrested me for stalking, claiming that I've made allegations against this person and called their workplace to do a complaint. And it's an open case, so I'm not going to get into it, but that's the one that they're not trying to charge me with. And then in connection with that, they put a stalking protection order on me and said that I'm not allowed to speak about certain things or make references to certain people from certain places. So and then I represented myself in that. I managed to get it amended so that I'll be able to speak about it for legal purposes or investigative purposes. So this is obviously part of my investigative process that I'm undertaking to find a lawyer. Any lawyers in the chat, please? It's part of my investigative legal process, guys. So yeah, but I mean, forget the cases, the undertone of it. We know what they're trying to do. They're trying to silence me. They're trying to stop me from speaking out. The evidence I have is extremely damning. They want me to go away. If I went and necked myself, they're probably, oh, thank goodness for that. Do you know what I mean?
Amazing.
So it is what it is. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, and the difficulty is as well, is if you went and did that, they'd say, oh, look, he was mentally disturbed the whole time.
Yeah. Or if I crashed out on everyone, sometimes I feel like going, not even gonna, do you know what, let me not even say anything, because I know what these things are like. But I have a duty to the public to take care of my mental health, ensure that I'm not detrimental to other people, stay sane, don't be overtly emotional, regulate myself, because my actions can affect the public, so that's important as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
are you sure about that?
I didn't know what it was.
I'm impressed that they're able to do, because as a woman, I've gone to the police multiple times about stalkers, and it's near impossible to get them to actually investigate. Where I'm from, I live in Derby. Yeah. We had a big case here a couple of years ago. Gracie Sprinks, one of the sergeants actually found the kill kit a few weeks before she was emmed, and he just filed it as lost property. So her stalker then just went and bought another kit, and went ahead and emmed her.
Wow.
The police they just NSA'd her case straight away.
I think I'm actually gonna put text-to-speech as GIFs only. One sec. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's sad that, I mean, obviously we have to see what happens. Like, I might get convicted, I might not. But at the end of the day, it's like they're accusing me of stalking someone who I've never spoken to, and someone who I've never tried to contact, and someone who I've never actually seen outside of the ward. And they're saying that part of it is me doing a complaint against her and saying her name online for something that she actually did. So,
well, I'm not sure if the CPS legislation states. I think it might state fixated, obsessive, unwanted, and repetitive in behaviour and thoughts.
Yeah.
I think it might say that. If it says that, I think they're trying to get you on a loophole of obsessed in thought. But the thing is with stalking and harassment cases, if there is a safeguarding, you can actually use that as a defence. I'm sure you probably knew that because you know not a lot on law. But if there is a safeguarding, you can use that as a defence. So as you have got another child, it might be something you can use. I'd look into that if I were you.
Well, another interesting thing is that an absolute defence to all forms of stalking and harassment is that you're undertaking a legitimate investigation on someone because you suspect that they committed a crime. So when you
keep responding because the speech to text
is
doing my head in.
I think it's going to get turned off soon. Let's just turn it off. So if you're undertaking an investigation in someone, then that's an absolute defence to stalking. And incidentally, I've called the police like 30 times on this person prior to them even making a complaint about me, saying, this is what they've done, let me show you the evidence. And the police have said, no, we don't want to see your evidence. So it's like, you're not going to do the investigation. You force me to investigate them to do a private prosecution, and then you arrest me for stalking. That's not very fair, is it?
Yeah, I've got PPMs from police saying that they're not going to investigate my stalker because I've not brought them any evidence, and I've said in there, do you want me to stalk my stalker to get the evidence then? So it's ridiculous. They won't investigate without the evidence, but if you go and collect it, then they accuse you of stalking.
Yeah.
So it's no win. You can't win with them.
Yeah. Cece, I'm going to drop you down, but we can talk in private chat if you want. Is that your actual name?
Yeah.
Okay. We could talk in private chat because there's a couple of people that have been waiting to come on. But I appreciate it. I guess we're talking Lucy Letby, but it kind of veers into different areas, which I find interesting. Thanks for your measured perspective.
No worries.
Yeah. Take care. Okay. Hold on. Let's get Sarah up. Did you read my letter? What letter is it? Hello, babes.
Hello, darling.
Gypsy's on top.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, I'm happy to see you look really chipper. You're looking really well.
That's my poker face.
Well, yeah, but I've got a video going a bit viral again of the mayor in DC who has the worst poker face ever, but I don't think she wants one. She's just, But anyway, did you read my letter?
Where did you send me letter?
I wrote a letter and Richard Gill posted it on his blog.
Who's Richard Gill?
Richard Gill, the statistician that's doing the
the Letby Richard Gill. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I've actually seen. Is this the guy that said that it's statistically impossible, that they made errors in the statistical estimation when they said that it's highly likely that she did M because of how frequently she was present, and then he said that they did it wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I know who this is.
And I've got him interested in the multiples, and I've explained to him the relevance of the multiples and the moving around and stuff. So hopefully that's going to help things along a little bit. But I wrote a letter about the way, from a twin parent, about the way that people discuss it, which almost removes the voices of the twin parents. Do you know what I mean? And can be really insensitive. And I actually mentioned Doreen Lawrence in my essay because I said, before the days of, TikTok evangelists who are guessing, what happened, these parents were able to have a voice when, terrible things happened. But now, like yourself, parents are being silenced all the time.
Yeah.
And the law is being used to do it.
Yeah.
And
then the irony is people go, what are you talking about? No one's being silenced. It's like, how would you know they're being silenced if they've been silenced? You take someone with pretty big knockers like me to come up and speak even when they've been silent. Go on. Let's have it.
You've got some stones, I'm telling you. You have got some stones. Like, me just speaking up a bit now has kind of made me feel really anxious, but I've said it now. And so now I've said it, hopefully people will start looking at it a little bit better.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
I'm on Mr. Gill's or Dr. Gill's page. So he's just got a quick little graphic here. I thought it'd be good to read out. So Lucy Letby, science on trial. Claim the deaths of the 7 babies in this case were initially considered unexplained. Truth. Autopsies were performed after death for 6 of the babies, and a specific cause of death was listed for 5 of them. Claim the babies died from air embolism, which was determined after the fact by an expert witness. Truth, the expert witness was not a pathologist. I think that's what Cece was saying before. Air embolism can only be determined at the time of death using specific tests which were not performed. And then I'll add on to that, the guy whose evidence he relied on came out and said that wasn't how the babies died, and he's an international world-renowned expert. Then claim Lucy Letby attacked a baby who was born at 23 weeks gestation, causing injuries to the white matter of her brain. Fact. Very premature babies often have white matter injuries due to prematurity alone. Paracovirus and enterovirus infection can also cause white matter injuries. But essentially, like the brain bleeds and the matter changes. Those are also caused by the action of the ventilator because it the pressures that it.
If you look on, I think it's called LucyLetby.org or something. It's the WordPress, and just read how he introduces my letter without reading the letter.
Lucy Letby WordPress. I'll need to actually. Can you send it me on WhatsApp, please?
Yeah. Hold on. I did. I sent it.
You sending me on WhatsApp?
Check it.
I'm literally flipping SHIT.
No, you don't stop.
Like, I cannot even. I don't even know who I'm ignoring right now. That's how bad I mean. It's probably someone like, dear Am, I wrote you sooner, but you're still busy. You're on live. I saw you on live and you didn't reply. It made me feel like I wanted to die.
Unalive.
I thought it made me feel like I wanted to unalive. That's what you would say if you were on TikTok. You said you love me, and then you went and flip-flopped.
Just read what he says about the multiples, how he opens it up.
Okay, let's get it up. Oh, where's my other phone? Oh no, this is that's my phone that I'm using for live, so I can't actually get it up. But wait.
Hold on, let me see if I can get it.
Wait, let me Facebook you one sec. Send it to me. I've got you on Facebook. Yeah. Oh, hey, let me just message you. Hey, yeah. Can you just send it me on Facebook and then I'll read it.
Yeah, hold on, 1 sec. Let me get it up. Oh gosh, 1 moment. I've got to find WhatsApp, haven't I? Because I'm on the road. Have you been keeping up with me? My God, I've had a bad haircut. I've had my medication stolen.
So we are on a live with people watching, and I'm actually doing a stream as well, so we have to keep it on topic. But let's just say claim there was no evidence of infection. Truth, the babies all showed many signs of viral infection, including changes to vital signs and poor feeding. Claim enterovirus is real, and on and on and on. I don't want to get into the virus stuff. And then this one's a good one. Claim blood tests proved that synthetic insulin was given to the babies. Fact. The presence of synthetic insulin cannot be established using the type of test that was performed. The testimony was false. I won't say false. The testimony was unsubstantiable.
Right, it's coming to you now. Oh God, I can't do it on TikTok, can I? How do I need to send it to you?
Facebook Messenger.
Okay, 1 sec. Have I got you on Facebook?
Yeah, I literally just accepted your friend request like 2 days ago because I had like 50.
It was hard ignoring me.
I was ignoring you, yes.
Right?
I was ignoring
Hold on, let me get it
But yeah, this website Gil1109 is pretty good about. I mean, I think what it does, it seems like the guy's pretty much read the New Yorker article and he's trying to like simplify it or add his own little flavor to it. I haven't read through all of it, but let me save this actually because it's quite. I actually might give this a read through. So is he written this out, Dr. Gill? This is like his blog then?
Hold on.
Okay.
I've got it. One sec. Just
Yeah, I'll read this. Let's see what's he saying about these staff members. What went wrong with NHS badly at Countess Chester, and it's not a coincidence. Okay. Oh, he's saying he offered his services to the defence and no one wanted to listen to him. Cheshire Constabulary threatened him and sent Dutch police to his door to deliver a letter in person which I'd already received by email. I heard about this. I just didn't know it was him. So he wanted he wanted to come out and defend Letby, and then the police threatened him and said that he needs to like stay away from the case or something like that. So something really dodgy is going on with this case.
I've sent it to you.
Yeah,
just read his opening. Don't worry about my letter so much, but read it in your own time. But
Okay.
this is the opening. How he opens it
Open
up.
letter from a twin mother. Yep. Twins are obviously not rare. 6 multiple births involved. 5 mothers have been expecting twins. Baby I and J lost their sibling in utero. Siblings and O and P survived. So including the stillbirths, we're talking about 13 babies of 6 mothers. Twins are obviously not rare. Well, they're quite rare. Multiple births in the Letby case all had antenatal care from top hospitals. Wait, did you meet up with him?
Yeah.
Oh. Can you connect me with him?
Yeah, of course. He'd love it.
Actually, I need to come see you first, to be honest.
Oh, you have to drive the bus to Spain.
You're still in Spain?
Yeah.
This is written that thing. Right, I'm gonna have to read this properly, and then what I'll do is I'll do another live on it, and then once I've read this and that, and then we can speak more about it because I can't.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it on the fly.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of guest requesting though. But did you want to give?
Let me go. Don't let me upset your flow.
I wanted to say if you just wanted to give like a final thoughts or kind of brief, because you have this thing with the twin twin pregnancies, don't you? So what's the general summary of it? You know what I mean?
Well, the summary is that in 2015 I gave birth at 32 weeks, having gone into spontaneous labour, and was in a NICU with my girls, who really didn't make it because of poor care. And it was the same week that the first babies in the Letby case passed away. So when I first heard about the case, I had quite an emotional reaction. You know, I work and I campaign for better care for twins, and I thought she was an awful human being. And then I turned up to one of the Science on Trial Zooms, and I thought, I need to reserve judgment a little bit here. So I did, and I sat back, and then looking at my research, I saw an anomaly of the losses, which is on a national audit, which anyone can go and look at.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, it's rather odd that there were so many twins. And putting two together, I'm insisting that this is given more attention by the right people. So, you know, I think that, as you know, I mean, I cite a study in that of 7,755 children and young people, where they found that those that were NICU graduates, so you graduate NICU, like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, what would you call those ones that didn't graduate? Did they fail NICU? You know, it's such a bloody stupid term, but they had twice as likely to have separation anxiety, OCD, ADHD, comorbidity of mental health issues, and the parents as well have a higher risk of PTSD and postnatal depression, obviously being arrested too. And then the people that work within NICU, it's a toxic environment in and of itself, and nobody comes out of it unscathed. And now they're doing studies into the siblings of children, like older siblings of children that go to NICU, because it has an effect on them as well. And so the letter I've written is more about how people discuss the case when they make guesses about what happened to this baby, what happened to that baby, and they've got no knowledge, they don't understand anything about it. And it's just, I find it highly disrespectful. I think everybody involved are human beings, and you know, same as, you know, Lucy Letby herself, and her family and her colleagues, and something went wrong. and that needs to be investigated.
Yeah, and also
That's the
guys,
crux of it.
saying that someone is not guilty is not the same as saying I think she's guilty and I want to defend her. So
Yeah.
you know, you're not defending a killer. You're saying that you don't think that she's a killer. I mean, you know, you could be defending a killer, but not on purpose. But you're saying that the person's not guilty.
Yeah, but people say to me, "Do you think she's innocent?" The thing is, my position is, well, put it this way.
Oops,
Oh,
I'm still here.
oh, there you go. Yeah, so my position is more, you know, a stance of, I don't know, and thank God I'm not the one that has to make the final decision because there's so many variables.
Yeah.
What we know is that something went wrong, and I believe that there were people that knew about what was going on.
Yeah.
And there was some motivation. Was she part of that motivation?
Yeah.
We don't
Good
know.
question.
Do you see what I mean? That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. So
Exactly. She
being
could have been part of
open-minded.
it. She could have been part of it, but
Yeah.
I don't think that it's premeditated. That's the key point. You know what you were saying about the NICU as well. It reminds me, and I always think about this about my time on the ward. You know the Stanford prison experiment where they have the guards and the prisoners. That's what the NICU reminds me of, because people, I don't know if a lot of people know that you can't actually leave the NICU without getting buzzed out. So you're actually imprisoned technically. Like you're, I know I'm not even exaggerating. Like it feels like you're in prison because.
Well, have you heard of social admissions?
No.
So it happens a lot. There was 2 families in there in the NICU when I was in there, and it happens all the time. I've worked in maternity for 5 years. I've known people that it's happened to. If they have safeguarding concerns for the parents, they'll send the baby to NICU, even though they're not ill. They'll make out that the baby needs to have maternity NICU because it's behind 2 locked doors.
Yeah, and then they come and kidnap the children.
There we go.
Yeah, but you know, the child trafficking by the social services is a whole nother topic we can get into another time. I will do other lives on that.
But it's just the risk.
But they are
to
intimately,
really NICU, yeah.
they're intimately linked to that setup that they have, and I think that setup is designed to give them overt leverage over the people that are on the ward. And not only do they have leverage over you because you know you can't get in and out to see your own children without them buzzing you in, but also the mindset of the people on the ward is such that they control everything going on. So that's where you get this psychopathic kind of tendencies that start to arise in the people when they realize not only do they control whether you can see your own children, they control your children, then they also control the contemporaneous record of what's happening, so they can abuse you and then write down that you abuse them, and then on top of that they are assisted by the whole apparatus of the NHS and by public opinion. So you're in a bit of a pickle if they have it out for you, to be quite honest. And that's what's happened to me basically, is that I've got the overwhelming avalanche of every organisation in Nottingham trying to attack me at the same time for things that I haven't done. It's just an unfortunate situation to be in.
Yeah, but more for them because, you know, I've always said this to you. You know, you're a threat because you're so intelligent. And that's the problem, is that even just you mentioning the Stanford prison experiment has got my mind ticking, because I'm like, yes, Emma, you are on the money. And then also, you stand up for yourself. And so you speak up, you know, and you're doing incredible.
Thank you. Pansy, we're not saying that it shouldn't be behind locked doors for the safety of babies. We're talking about the psychological impact on the staff and the parents from an environment like that. It's not, you know, it's not the blame game at this time. Interestingly as well, Sarah, I actually solved another systemic issue at Nottingham the other day. I've actually found that their oxygen guidelines are out of line with the national guidelines, which is what I was telling them on the ward, which they used to say that I was against oxygen for my kids. So I don't know how they're going to explain that in court, but there's so many things that I've now undermined them on. The only thing they can do now is try and imprison me or section me, because I found that they weren't following they weren't following the proper ventilation guidelines. Now I found that their oxygen settings are not even in line with national. I told them on the ward they're not in line with the boost study. They go, "Oh, Dad is challenging us again." I'm just telling them, guys, you're not in line with the standards. But you know, these people, they just, I don't know what's wrong with them. They lack of accountability.
Oxygen, like.
Oh yeah, I don't want my kids to have oxygen. Makes perfect sense.
Like, don't we all just love a bit of oxygen, to be fair? You know,
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's so ridiculous.
And if you think about it, if you're saying that I tried to deprive my children of oxygen and they're on a neonatal ward, that's an allegation of attempted murder. So it's like, why didn't you arrest me for attempted murder then? Like, Yeah, and all of a sudden, no one's anywhere to be found. There was all Billy Big Bollocks when it was time to make the allegations. Right, let's substantiate. Oh, my camera went funny. Let's substantiate the allegations now. It's like, oh, everybody's running scared. What are you running scared for? I'm here. You can see me. You guys know where I'm at. And now they're all running scared. Well, you're so confident when you were behind the aforementioned gates, on the ward where you had control of the environment, and now nobody wants to talk about it.
But it's the gaslighting as well. Like you talking about the oxygen makes me laugh because I broke out of Nicker and I got into PIDS, into a private room with my girls. And I'm lying there on the bed and I'm woken up by this nurse leaning over me because I got my baby in my arms asleep. She's like, you can't sleep with your baby. I said, yes, I can. And then she leans over and she tests the oxygen mask, right? I'm not a patient. It's an adult oxygen mask. I said, what are you doing? She said, well, I'm checking the oxygen so that if the babies need the oxygen. I said, that mask is too big for my face. But
yeah.
How this doesn't make sense. But it's just the monitoring. The monitoring should be receptive to the needs of the baby, not monitoring the parent's behaviour. That's the problem.
Yeah, there's too much focus. But it makes sense for them to focus on the parents because then they can avoid accountability. Because then if anything happens, they have someone to blame, and then they have a record of them focusing on the parents, which makes it look like, oh, we're not blaming them. Look, we've got all of this record of what the parents have been doing. Yeah, because you're focusing on the parents instead of focusing on the child and focusing on your job. You're trying to frame the parents, Yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Still, right? And
yeah, please do.
Lots of love, mate.
Yeah, love and thank you as well.
All right, sweetie. Bye.
All right, bye. Yeah, guys, if you record and document every single thing a person does for 5 months straight, you can make them look any way you like how I've been made to look like a monster for doing literally nothing wrong, and I mean literally nothing wrong. But when you have people who are just unwilling to take accountability like they are at Nottingham City Hospital, the most ignorant, unwilling to take accountability people I've ever met in my life. Arrogant, ignorant, bullies, liars, terrible people. But what do I know? I'm just a dude off TikTok. Emily says, you like to speak. Have I heard of gang stalking? Yeah, I know what gang stalking is. That's kind of like what's happening to me, but I try not to get into conspiracy on this live. I know it's real, but I don't want to get into what people think is conspiracy because I want to maintain that plausible deniability that I'm not a crackpot. Emily, we've got 2 people that want to come on. I'm sorry, we've overrun by like an hour already, but what's up, Emily?
Hi, I'm a nurse. I work in a similar trust. Just that Lucy worked in. I've got a lot to say. Well,
you're on the live stream, so
I think I was on before when Chloe was on, or Chloe. That was very disregarding. She's 21 years old, meaning she's a newly qualified nurse. When you are a nurse and you are working with patients that sadly pass away, you do think to yourself, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What has happened?
Yeah.
Regardless of your documentation, which is a massive thing, also want to say in the Cheshire Trust, I can see Chloe in the comments. You are a newly qualified nurse, and you are speaking on facts that you do not realise.
Emily, I would just say, with the people in the comments, just remember, sometimes you can't win. There's a lot of really ignorant people like Chloe that come. I won't even call it ignorant because we all have flaws, but there are people. It's really just for the TikTok censors. But
no, the thing is, if you're a newly qualified nurse and you want to be disregarding of the fact that people question their judgment, Chloe spoke a lot on the documentation and what was found in Lucy's home. I am a community nurse, so I deal with a lot of end-of-life patients with syringe drivers, stack doses. You give them, if your patient dies within the 24 hours of you giving that dose, you think to yourself, have I done something wrong?
Yeah.
It's the way the human mind works.
Yeah, and also Emily, the sad thing is there's a lot of people like Chloe that work in the NHS. They're just you can't do anything with them. What we have to do, I think, is we have to start having adult conversations around these people, not to them. Just speak around them to solve. They are the issue. We need to solve them as an issue. There's no use arguing with them. They just.
I think if you are getting a degree, okay, which is what nursing is now, you have to go to university and get a degree, and you have to understand the fact that things are going to go wrong, patients are going to die, patients are going to deteriorate. That is not down to you as a sole person.
But some people are ignorant to the point where it's not that they can't understand it, it's that they want to argue and waste your time, and they want to, they're hard-headed, that's the word. So,
I think
just ignore Chloe, because she's just, there's so many people like this on my live, they're just ignorant. What's up, Miss Tapper?
When it comes to Lucy Letby, it's a horrible case. There's a lot of children that have passed away, and that is a horrible fact. It's disgusting. It really is. At the end of the day, we need hard evidence. There needs to be hard, set in stone evidence to say that this person has passed away because of this person's actions.
Yes.
And there isn't that. There is nothing to suggest that Lucy Letby is the sole reason for these infants' death.
Yeah.
There isn't. The evidence is circumstantial. If the evidence was hard, she would have been put away back when this case first happened.
Yeah, they even say on the appeal document that she was convicted on circumstantial evidence. So even the Crown accepts that she was convicted on circumstantial evidence.
The notes, I've just seen a comment from Chloe in the notes. The falsified notes to cover her tracks. Explain that, Chloe. Explain what you mean, because unless you are on the ward and have access to patient records, how do you know she's falsified them? It's all hearsay. A thing with working in the trust around Cheshire and the mid-Cheshire, Liverpool, Merseyside, it's all paper documented. You can rip a piece of paper out, stick it in a shredder, they're gone.
Yeah.
They don't exist. You can rewrite it.
Yeah.
You can write my name Jeff Bezos or Jeff Bezos and put the date in 1st of January 2025. Who is going to take that as evidence? It doesn't work. It does not work. And that is the downfall of the NHS. And
that's actually the downfall of the I wouldn't say the downfall. I think that's a serious flaw in our legal system that needs to be addressed, and it's not being addressed because of the hard-headedness of us as a country. It's not working well when you've just got the ability of medical experts to be right just because they're medical experts. That undermines many, the safety of many convictions, I think. And I think that we need to have a new model. I propose perhaps that we need judges that are medically trained as opposed to just taking medical testimony from medical professionals as worth more than a layman.
I understand that, and I wholeheartedly agree. So when it comes to the NMC, they do their own investigation, but they take it off people that are registered with the NMC and the GMC. So it's kind of like, you've got to take it. You've got to look at the evidence with Lucy Letby is circumstantial. There is no hard evidence.
Yeah.
At all.
And you can be convicted on circumstantial evidence. The problem is the circumstantial evidence has been cherry-picked, so it's not even good circumstantial evidence.
No, but the thing is, I deal with a lot of end-of-life patients. I've put up syringe drivers. If those patients have died in 24 hours, am I an M?
Yeah, and all of the patients that died in your care, does that mean, oh, you were there for all of them, Emily? That means you did it. Like, you were there because you work on the ward. Like, what the hell?
I think Chloe needs to maybe take a step back and educate herself. I think she needs to maybe go back to school. If she's already qualified, she needs to go to her manager.
Do you mean secondary school?
Well, no, she's
Primary school.
She's clearly got a degree.
Oh.
She's got a degree. If she claims that she's a nurse, she's got her degree. She should go back to her manager and say, I don't understand why I feel this way about this topic. This case is a massive case spoken about within our trust.
And what do people think?
The majority, if not everyone, is saying that the evidence is circumstantial. I have a journal that I keep myself. You cannot come home after a shift and just switch it off with a click of a thumb.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't. They are human beings. They have lives. They emulate our grandmother, our granddad, our mothers, our fathers, our children, our nieces, our nephews. You cannot spend time with a patient and think, oh, they're just a patient. That does not make sense. You come home. I have a therapist. I'm a nurse. I need an outlet.
Someone said, what? Just because she's white, you think she's not guilty? So this is what I'm saying, Emily. Some people are operating on a level of like, you know, like when you do a CT scan on someone, and then like you can see like the brain and the brain structures. Some people you do the CT scan, and it's like that SpongeBob SquarePants episode. All you see is a peanut. So like that K person, when you do her CT scan, you just see a peanut.
Let's talk about the Stepping Hill murders. The Stockton
Lawrence.
murders.
Wait, who's M?
The Stepping Hill.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
So there was a nurse that was working around the Stockport area. A senior nurse, a sister, that actually tried to knock off a couple of people and succeeded in that. Blamed a young nurse. She got arrested, charged, and sentenced. And then after that, proved that she was not guilty. That it was the other nurse. It was the senior nurse that was doing it.
Mm.
I think the thing is, it's not about race. It's not about fucking culture. It's not about anything like that. And the fact that that's being brought up in the case, children have died. Let's get on that. Let's get on the trust. Let's get on the policies and procedures that are put in place. Not pour blame on people.
Yeah, we're never gonna. I think I fear that we've reached a point in public discourse where the quality of the average mind is not fit for these kinds of discussions. And maybe when you say go back to school, I think as a whole nation, in a sense, we need to go back to school. We need to go back to the principles of common law. We need to kind of start again. And people, I think in school there should actually be a subject called rhetoric, where people actually learn logic. They have to learn how logic works and like deductive reasoning and what is cherry picking, what is a logical fallacy. Like, we don't learn this stuff, and that's why they don't even understand how to reason about something.
I think people need to go back to human factors. Human factors is a massive thing. It works in aviation, it works in healthcare. I've had someone saying in the comments, have Emily Francis around your children. Actually, I'm a great babysitter. I have nieces and nephews, and I'm the trusted babysitter because I look after them and I report back. This is the thing. If something is wrong, you report that back.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, human factors, it's the lack of knowledge, it's the lack of resources, it's the lack of competence, it's the lack of people around you.
And it's a lack of intelligence as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, some of these nurses are not very,
Emily, you still haven't answered
Not
my
very bright.
question about the evidence.
Don't worry, Emily. I actually have to wrap it up now. We've been live for quite a while. Thank you for everyone who's watching the live. What's up with the likes? We didn't get. I mean, I guess most people just didn't agree with me.
I
Anyway,
just want to say there is no falsifying of documentation. If you want to see the documentation, email the trust. Get access to the documentation. If you've got a valid NMC PIN, you will be able to access that. If you haven't, shut your mouth.
and Emily, I think Chloe wanted to ask you on a date as well because she offered to kiss you a couple of times. So you guys do your little thing in the DMs.
Yeah,
We don't
do.
tolerate discrimination against anyone in on these lives. TikTok censors. Yeah, I love the LGBT. Yeah, okay. So you girls, just you know what I mean. Just do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Thank you, user 358, saying this was very interesting. I'm just going to drop you down. Yeah, now kiss, girls. Just kiss and make up, right? Send me the video. All right. She done the rainbow. No, it's all over here, guys. So yeah, I gotta go. Kay said he likes snow bunnies. Man, I can't imagine how like people live being as slow as some people are. It's like, you think someone's not guilty, and then they look at the people. One of them is white, one of them is black. That's what it is. Yeah, it did get the color. Like, I'm here doing gymnastics of thought. Like, what about this? And then what about that? And what about this? And what about that? You're black and you're white. You're brown and you're white. That means that's white. I'm like, why do I even bother thinking? Why do I bother? Why do I bother, Kay? Tell me. Okay, we're gonna end it there. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. This full live will be available on YouTube and on Facebook. On YouTube, we are at State of Deception. On Facebook is my name, Ama, A-M-A, last name Maduako, M-A-D-U-A-K-O. Link in bio. If you want to follow us on any platforms, just press the link in my bio. It's pretty simple. You know, why not? Why not? Why not? I'm the one doing all the waffling, doing all the hard work and the graft. Just give me a follow, man. Just give me a follow. Yeah. Obviously, we're advocating for my daughter as well, killed by Nottingham City Hospital. They've covered it up. It's been 3 years almost of a cover-up. But we're going to get justice by force. Yeah, follow me on all platforms. There'll be clips of the live available as well. Thank you for everyone that participated. I think this would have been our best live in terms of quality because I've got my pop filter on my mic and the speaker. So let me know feedback on the videos about the quality as well. Peace. Okay, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you guys are watching, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. I'm gonna just end the live now. Link in bio. Well, it's not in my Facebook, YouTube bio, but wherever you're watching this, there'll be a link on that profile that you can find all of us, our platforms on. If you want to participate in the stream and speak, you have to follow me on TikTok and then request to join the live, my TikTok live as a guest, and then you can actually speak to me on the thing, and then it will get recorded. You'll be on the stream. Okay, thank you.